Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be talking about another Tottenham Hotspur defeat in the Premier League. Spurs remain 15th in the table, 8 points away from the relegation zone. Of course, the game this afternoon ended Tottenham Hotspur 1, Leicester City 2. Richarlison put Spurs 1-0 up after 33 minutes. Jamie Vardy equalised in the 46th minute, and then Leicester City got their winner in the 50th minute. As I've said, Spurs remain 15th, 24 points from 23 games. We are still 8 points away from the relegation zone, and Leicester City move out of the bottom three. Now, here are the match facts and stats. Tottenham Hotspur had 60.5% of the ball to Leicester's 39.5%. XG, Spurs 1.1 to Leicester's 1.5. Shots, Spurs 15, Leicester 12. Shots on target, Spurs 6, Leicester 3. Total touches inside the box, Spurs had 22, Leicester had 15. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 1, Leicester 5. Fouls, Spurs 6, Leicester 16. Corners, Spurs 6, Leicester 4. Now, as per usual, we are live on YouTube, live on X, Facebook and Twitch. Please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Lots of boos at the end at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm now recording this from the car, and I'll tell you what, I'm feeling pretty down, pretty embarrassed, to be honest, because it was an embarrassing performance. It was an embarrassing result yet again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and Spurs should not be sitting in 15th, 8 points away from the relegation zone. I'll tell you what, I don't fear for relegation at all, because the teams below us, I don't think are going to get the points, and I think that's probably the only reason why we're not going to be relegated, because on this form, we are in relegation form. Leicester City going into this game, seven defeats on the bounce. I was on TalkSport earlier, and they mentioned the term Dr. Tottenham, and I said, no Dr. Tottenham today, no Spursy, and of course, Dr. Tottenham strikes again. I tell you what, I'm absolutely sick of it. It feels like we are going round in circles again and again and again. On this channel, on various media interviews, I've mentioned the same old thing. We have gone round in circles. We have replaced manager after manager after manager. 7 different managers in the dugout, including since Mauricio Pochettino in 2019. He said at the time, we need furniture to go into our new home, and we still haven't got that furniture. The board, probably the most Levy out chance I've ever heard inside that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today. It was continuous throughout the whole of the 90 minutes. Boos at the end. Even the sound system could not drown out the boos and the Levy out chants from the Tottenham Hotspur fans, the ones who stayed beyond the end. It is simply not good enough. The board need to do more. In my opinion today, I felt like Ange Postecoglou put out the 11 that should have got the result today as well. So I think that there is a lot to talk about. We've got our regulars on again to talk about everything Spurs, and of course this horrible result. And I call it a horrible result because it is, Leicester City. Spurs had more than enough quality today to win that game. Is it on Ange Postecoglou? Of course, there is a lot of criticism aimed at the board right now, and rightly so. We are 26 days into a transfer window. We've signed a goalkeeper and no outfield players, and our manager continues to say we need help. He's just said it in his post-match press conference again today. We need help, and they are failing to deliver for the manager. Craig Dearman's back with us. Craig, we're going to talk about the football, but I'm just going to say a very quick hello.
Hello. Not feeling great, but
Ricky Norwood's back with us as well. Ricky, hello.
Oh, mate, how you doing? You all right?
No,
I know. Listen, it's I don't know what we're going to say today. I can't tell you how I'm feeling. I feel pretty disgusted. I know we're going to jump in. But I will say to all of the away fans that was at Hoffenheim and that I got to meet, that was an amazing experience for me. So thank you, the Tottenham community, for making it that special. It was great, and it was special to be there with Chris as well. He's tried to get me along to a couple of away games, but as everybody knows, my sense of direction ain't that great. So it was my first one on Thursday. So I'll start with the positive. That is thank you to all the community for making it happen. Everybody that came up and said hello, and to meet Glenn Hoddle was amazing, and just the experience of being away from home with that crowd was pretty special. So apart from today, it's been good, but let's jump in.
We've got Harry Scarfe with us, of course, Tottenham Hotspur YouTuber. Harry, I know you've just come back from the game. I won't ask a silly question, how are you? But hello.
Hi, Chris. Thank you very much for having me. I think you summed it up perfectly. It's an embarrassing result. I think we played a really poor team today. I think that'd be fair to say. And we've lost another game. It's really frustrating. A game that we should have won, could have won. We just let slip and we just totally capitulated in that second half. So really frustrating. But at the same time, looking forward to getting into it, dissecting it, because there is a lot to discuss, as there always is with a defeat.
In my opinion, we cannot keep going round in the circles that we have been in recent seasons. How many managers does this football club want to have to bring in, to buy certain players, to go through that same cycle again and then sack a manager? Will Ange Postecoglou remain in charge at Tottenham? That is the biggest question. Will it happen? Can I go round each of you first of all and just give me a quick yes or no? Are you Ange in? Craig?
I really want it to work. I honestly can't answer that, because ultimately he's a manager and he's got to carry the can. So I think it's got to that point where he's probably got to go. And I say that really tinged with sadness, because I really want it to work. And I'm just going to caveat that with, you could sack him tomorrow, bring somebody in. I don't think much is going to change. You might get a little manager bounce, a couple of games. But overall, long term, I'm not sure what that's going to do. This rinse repeat cycle, like you say, you could almost set your watch by it. 18 months. A manager comes in, does his stuff, start off well, rebuild. Things go tits up. Manager gets a sack, and it's just this constant cycle. And I really wanted Ange to be the one to break that, but I honestly can't see how he stays. But when you look at all the reasons why, yes, he's got to take the blame. There were certain decisions that he's made that we all don't agree with. But on the whole, it's the injuries that have cost us this. And the players that were out there today were dead on their feet, but that's not taking it off the players. I think some players didn't step up. I don't think they performed. Players that dropped out before the game, hanging heads in shame.
Craig, a yes or a no?
I think I'm Ange out now. I think, and I really, really hate saying that, but I can't see how he survives.
Ricky, a yes or a no?
Yes, I'm Ange in, bruv.
Harry?
I'm undecided. To be honest, I'm totally the same with Craig. I've been in all the way, but I really question that now. I'm probably leaning more towards out, but I don't think he's the main problem at all.
Absolutely.
I tell you, I'm so bored of discussing the same stuff. I feel like I go to the stadium, I have the same conversations. I feel like I've had the same conversations a couple of years ago, and I'm having those same conversations yet again. I feel like we've said the same old stuff on this podcast again and again and again. I felt like it was going to be different under Ange Postecoglou, and I'm so disappointed again in the board by not backing this manager, because if you were going to hit that major reset button, sell your greatest player of all time in Harry Kane, our greatest ever goal scorer at the football club, you sell Harry Kane, you get business done early in that first summer under Postecoglou, you get business done early in that January transfer window. In my opinion, and I've said this hundreds of times before, in the summer just gone, we should have done more. Because of all of the injuries that we had last season, and 26 days into a January window, when a manager is crying out for help, crying out to strengthen this squad, and these players looked absolutely shattered. I know we'll get into it, but the first 10 minutes of that game, the players looked knackered, in my opinion, and it's so obvious that Ange needs help. And if you're not going to give him the help, this is never, ever going to work. It's so disappointing. As I always mention, I quite often see the likes of Fabio Prasci, Scott Munn, Johan Langer walking around the stadium. None of those were nowhere to be seen today. They might have been at the stadium, but I certainly didn't see them. Daniel Levy stood there at the end of the game with Donna Cullen and the other board members when there were a lot of Levy out chants. Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game, because I've called it embarrassing. I'll tell you what, how long can this continue? I know that we can come up with 101 excuses. I'm with you. The fact that, yes, we have had loads of injuries, but that team that we put out today, that team should have been good enough to win that game against Leicester, a Leicester team that have gone into this game losing 7 on the bounce. Is that down to Ange? I feel like, not that I'm sitting here ranting and raving saying I want to blame somebody, but I feel like responsibility is at everyone's doorstep here.
It is, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. It's not just Ange. It really isn't. We know where the problems lay. The problems lay well above him. And what I don't understand is, I wouldn't be surprised that Ange gets the sack tomorrow morning, or even before, right? And I do mean I'm very sad I would be very sad to see him go, because I've said on here many times, as a lot of people have, I've not got the strength for another rebuild, because how long we've been rebuilding since 2019? 5-6 years. But if they know things have been dodgy for months. If they knew that Ange Postecoglou was going to go at some point, then why not get rid of him at the beginning of January and then back the manager coming in? What they've done, it's quite clear that they've got that in the back of their mind, because they haven't backed him. Why would you not buy players in January, in a month where it's clear to everybody, absolutely everybody that supports this football club, that we need players? Why have you not done that? It's a dereliction of duty apart from anything else. So why would you not do it? What's the point? Sack Ange tomorrow after a bad run of games, which they probably knew that we were going to be up against it anyway, and you've wasted the 26th, 25th of January, 26th of January. You've wasted 26 days with a manager who you were going to sack anyway. You've missed out on key targets. Marmoush has gone to City. All right, he might have done, but if that's the sort of target you want, you go and get them. It's so frustrating, this club, honestly.
The thing is as well, Craig, is the fact that some players have been heavily ignored. When we can see certain players absolutely shattered because they're trying to play every single minute that Ange wants, there are certain youth players, development players and fringe players that have been ignored for some time, and they've not been given opportunities, and they've not been given the game time. People are saying to me, am I Ange in or Ange out? Do you know what? I don't think this is going to work under Ange Postecoglou, because the players that he wants clearly are not coming through the door. And if those players are not coming through the door, they are never, ever, it's never going to work for him at Spurs, sadly. I've said week after week, I love when Ange ball clicks and everything really clicks. It's wonderful to watch. It's the most entertaining football. And I feel like we're the most entertaining side in the Premier League to watch. But it's turned now to being the most entertaining team for a neutral to watch, not for a Tottenham Hotspur fan. We never ever know what we're going to get.
No, absolutely. And Ange must be so frustrated, because, like you say, he's not getting the players in he wants. But Ange doesn't really ask for world-class talent. The players that he's going to be asking for shouldn't be that hard to get over the line. They're not going to cost an arm and a leg. Do you know what I mean? So what does that say to you? He's said many, many times he doesn't want players like the Haalands or anything like that. He wants young players, perhaps up-and-coming players, like your Archie Grays, like your Lucas Bergvalls. They are not that hard to get in. So why haven't we bought any players in? That's the key for me. Why have we only bought in a goalkeeper? Because coming on to today's game, I 100% agree with you, Chris. The players looked absolutely shattered in that first 20 minutes, and in the second half, there was at one point Porro was just dead on his feet. He's played the most minutes, I think, of any outfield player. Sonny looked absolutely knackered. Richarlison, for people saying, why did you take Richarlison off? He was feeling something in his groin, so he had to go off. You could not risk that, because we would have been out of centre forward completely then, apart from Will Lancashire. So he had no choice but to take Richarlison off. But, 12 first-team injuries, and we've brought nobody in. Let that sink in. It's just bloody awful. Honestly, I am so frustrated with this board. How is that helping your manager? I just think it's unbelievable. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I'll hand it over to Ricky, because I just can't believe that they've left him high and dry. Yes, there's an element of Ange has done things wrong, and there's bits and pieces there that he could improve on. But it's
not just about bringing one or two players in. Show some bloody ambition at the football club. Show some ambition.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. They haven't shown ambition. When has this club ever showed real ambition? Never. You sell Harry Kane, fine, you got 100 million. Personally, and I said at the time, I'd have just held him to his contract and let him go on a free if he wanted to. Because what is the point? What is the point? Terrible.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the game.
So again, firstly, the game is a disgusting result. It has left me sick to my stomach. I wanted to punch, break, crash, bang, wallop the lot, because there's no way on this God's green earth that we should have lost the game today against that side at all. For me, again, we've lost Maddison, right? Who was very influential on Thursday night. He saw. It's come down to what you gentlemen have just said, and this is why I'm still Jin. Yes, okay, look, the manager is not perfect, right? There are going to be some things within a tweak of a system or a tweak of a tactic or all of the things, right, that we speak about a manager is control of. But the fact that board have left him high and dry, it is beyond a shadow of a doubt, right, that they are incompetent right now. They are showing absolutely no will, no ambition, like you just said there, Chris. No kind of there's nothing there, and it's come to a head. It's not just us as well. You've got to remember that Cuti Romero spoke about what happens above him and in the board and what players come in. Kulusevski has said it this season as well, right? We've had Jamie Redknapp, we've had Neville, we've had so many people call out the board right now. And, this is why I have a bit of sympathy, a bit of empathy, and some understanding to stand with Ange, because nothing has changed in the last 8 weeks. Nothing has changed in the last 8-9 weeks at this football club. 31st of December, we knew how much we needed to bring in to give these boys a boost. And it's not about just bringing a player in for bodies. It is about that rotation. It is about adaptation. It is about changing the side. And we ain't got it. When I saw on Thursday night how we started that game, that first half of the game, and then I saw how knackered and how out of energy and how they was on like 5% battery, do you know what I mean, going into that second half, and I was just like, what's happening here? It's only in reflection that I started to worry about Leicester, because I was just like, if the same thing happens, that second half is going to be really, really difficult, all right? It's going to be really difficult. And unfortunately, again, look, we start the game great. Richarlison looks great. He's pinging balls around. I was just like, he actually surprised me at some of his hold-up play and some of the passes that he was finding. And for the first time in a long time, we began to look fluid again. And then we've got to take him off. Of course, we've got to take him off. We had to take him off on Thursday, and we've had to take him off today, because we know as Tottenham fans how brittle and how feeble Richarlison is right now. We are down to bare bones. I can't believe that this board have continued to be this ignorant, have continued to not care this much, and have continued to let us be in this position and put it all on the head of the manager. This is the time where all our focus, all our blame should go on that board. And you know what kills me as well, for the amount of times that I've always tried to be fair to the board, in the sense that, yes, they do a lot of wrong, right? And when it's time to criticize them, I have criticized them. But when they have done something right, I've wanted to praise them too. But you know what? When you look at what they've they've turned us into rot. There's been many a fan year in, year out that have said, do you know what I mean? Profit over glory. This is just an event stadium, that it is all about money. And this, when actions like the summer happen, and when actions like this January has happened, it only backs that argument. It only gives credence and gravitas to that argument, that the problem lies sitting upstairs in that board. Do you know what I mean? I can't believe, what is Langer doing? What is Levy doing? What is Cowlin doing? What are these lot doing? What are they doing? This is disgusting. And they've split this fan base in not in half, into 4 quarters, mate. There's so much in fighting and difference of opinion going on left, right, and centre, and it is all down to them lot. And that's why I stand strong, and that's why I stand firm with Ange, because again, after 8-9 weeks, nothing has changed. How many times has he got asked for help? He's not going to do a Conte and go out there and slag them off and put, and blatantly say what it is and what's going on. He has done it in the nicest, most professional way that he can. He's asked for help. He says we're playing with fire. You've seen it. We have seen it, man. We have seen it. And today's result, I don't think it is on Ange. And I'll tell you why, because when they came out, that first couple of minutes, all right, Ange didn't say to Porro to give away the ball for the second goal. That kerfuffle down the right-hand side, do you know what I mean, when everybody was sleeping for the first goal, that ain't on Ange. Ange didn't say give the ball away and let them run at you. Do you know what I mean? Let them put a ball across. This is simple things. Do you know what I mean? Come out, be solid for the second half. First 5-10 minutes, get yourself going. But they couldn't do it. In that 15 minutes, it's like they fell asleep. It's like everything in their body shut down. And when it comes down to tiredness and fatigue, let me just say, on a sidebar, let me just say it was my first away game. Chris, you know what time we got back Friday night. What time did we get back? 11. I got back in my house about 12:30. Yesterday, the whole of Saturday, I was in and out of sleep. My body and my mind was shut down. I didn't want to speak to nobody. I didn't want to text nobody. I was supposed to go out and see my mate that evening. I was like, mate, I can't do it. I was in and out of sleep all day yesterday, bro. Absolutely knackered. And that's my first away trip. Now, I know these guys are athletes and I know they get paid a lot of money, but that doesn't mean they're not human. That doesn't mean they're not feeling the tiredness within their bodies, within their minds, and within this struggle. And I feel that second half, the beginning of that second half, they started from 0% and then had to work their way up, but they couldn't. I know we can't start at 0%. But that's what it looked like it happened. And then after that, it's just, it was the same tactics that have won lower teams that are below us. Same tactics like Ipswich, like Palace, which was time wasting, niggles, fouls, you know what I mean? The lot. And the longer that game went on, Leicester knew it as well. They've had 8 days rest, right? Regardless of their form, they've had 8 days rest to come into this thing, which meant that they could last longer in the game. So their time-wasting tactics and the time added on wasn't going to affect Leicester. Yes, we should have done better. Absolutely. I can't say that we shouldn't have done better. Am I not disgusted, frustrated, and beat up by this? Of course I am. I don't just pull out positive for positive sake. But my goodness, it has got to the point where it's like that. I can't sack another manager. I can't, like you boys have just said, go round in circles, go round in the same cycles, do this year in, year out, say the same things in January, year in, year out. How many times are we 2-3 players short? How many times we started this season short? We knew what happened last year. We know Postecoglou, those data researchers have researched Postecoglou's tactics and whatnot. They know. It's all data. They know what we need, yet they leave him short. We know we need rotation on 65 minutes because of the intense way that we play, yet they leave him short. We've got to 26 days in January and they haven't brought in one player. That's disgusting. It's disgusting that they've left us in this position. It's disgusting that they're letting all of this heat fall on Ange. It is disgusting. It's disgusting, bro. And things, my gosh, I'm heartbroken, bro. I'm heartbroken and I'm hurt and I'm frustrated. And I don't know what to say anymore. Do you know what I mean? All the focus has to go on that board. And the boos and the negativity that they got was well-deserved today. And I don't normally say that. I don't like that action. But it was well-deserved today. The Spursy tag, we get battered every week. Dr. Tottenham, all of these things did not originate and did not start with Ange Postecoglou. They have been there for a very, very, very long time. So we know as Tottenham fans that we've had this inherent trait of things like that second half happening. You know, we know that. But like you said, Chris, in this time of change, in all this talk about, you know, new manager, new system, new data, new scouts, new medical, new this, new that, the same old problems and the same mistakes continue to happen because that same board they continue to play chess. And it feels like all of those fans that say they don't they don't care about the football side, it just proves all of those people right. Do you know what I mean? And I can't believe it's utter incompetence. The ones that should be sacked or the ones that should be leaving are those that are in charge from the top down, my friend. It's the top and these are arguments that I've argued against and I've tried to stick up for the board at certain times. But now I've got no excuse. I've got no argument for them. You know, really nice stadium, really nice training ground. But I don't know where we go from here, bro.
Ricky, I don't think I've ever heard you criticise Ange Postecoglou in any way on any of these shows. Why not?
I criticised him against Everton with the back three, and I understand where he's going.
No, but
I understand where he's going.
But
so
what
when
I'm
it
saying
comes
is,
down to criticism,
when you see that lineup
of this season,
when you see that lineup today,
yes, sir.
That lineup, no matter what excuses you give, that lineup has to beat Leicester today.
Absolutely. But if you look at that lineup and you look at their battery levels on all of them, you know, they're all on low power mode, bro.
If you're going to go on battery levels, so he's had other players to choose during this season and he's ignored them. So someone like Alfie Doron, for example, I'll use him as an example. We've sent him out on loan and we had him available. And Ange Postecoglou said in the press conference, we don't have any defenders. How do you think that Alfie Doron feels by hearing those words?
I think that's probably going to hurt him and that's probably going to stunt him a little bit. But we, again, don't know what he's seeing in training, right? He might be thinking that he's not ready to step up at that point. I don't know. This is just speculation, and I'm not going to excuse that for him. But
look, if you're good enough to sit on the bench, you're good enough to play.
You can use. We saw it on Thursday when Will came on. Now, Will Lancashire, I really like, okay? And I think that he should have got more minutes, right? So I'm agreeing with you in certain aspects. But when he came on, there were certain things where like the ball was bouncing off of him and he couldn't hold it, or it was like his touch was slightly off. And I don't know whether that is part of it or whether this is like a bit of a Harry Redknapp tactic when he used to put like 3 goalkeepers on the bench to go, look, I need some help. Do you know what I mean? Look, can we get somebody in? Every manager, do you know what? Ali, I watched a video last week, Ali Gold, and he was saying that he's heard the same things that Postecoglou has been saying in various different accents.
Yeah,
he's heard it in Argentinian, he's heard it in Italian, he's heard it in Portuguese. He's heard it the same lines and the same excuses. So, what does it matter what manager we get in if the same things are going to happen? We're going to say the same thing in 12 months' time, bro. In 12 months, 18 months' time, we're going to say the same thing about the new manager. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's a shame. And I think that, you know, it was super exciting. I think that when Ange came in with 101 problems that he had to deal with, plus Harry Kane leaving on the eve, etc., you know, he came in with a massive in tray of problems to deal with. And little bit by little bit, he's tried to deal with them. But he has had no help whatsoever, bro. He has had no help whatsoever. They like Craig was saying there, he's not asking for Declan Rice at 100 mil. He's not asking for that. He's saying, give me the player with the right character, the right profile, and I'll take him. He can cost 15 mil. I don't mind. I don't care what the price is, but I'll take him. You know? But they haven't been able to do that. And I don't know why he hasn't chosen. Maybe he feels that, I don't know. And this is me searching. But maybe he feels like if he would have put out the youth side out there, that's almost a damning team to put out there. And then we've got fans going, well, you've put a team out to lose. You haven't put a team out to win. I don't know, mate. It is horrible. I hate this.
Yeah. Harry, let's get your thoughts on the game. Of course, you were in the stadium today. A lot of criticism aimed at Daniel Levy today, probably more than I've ever seen or heard inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would totally agree. And this is something that I don't generally get involved in and haven't held like a strong view, but I'm totally with all three of you actually in terms of like, you know, for me, it lies with the ownership, it lies with the board, right? You know, our situation for me at the moment, where we are in the league, Ricky said it spot on. You know, we knew before the window opened what we needed. It was crystal clear that we needed numbers, whether it be squad depth, improving the 11. And for me, right at the bottom of the list, even with injuries in that position, would have been goalkeeper. Not being funny, because Austin impressed on his debut. That for me was enough reassurance in the short term. Okay, of course it's not ideal, but there are other positions that were more important to address that we haven't addressed. Tomorrow's going to be the 27th. You know, no signings at all. And I don't think we'll sign someone before the end of the window. I genuinely don't. And that would be, and just been neglected, as simple as that. And yes, he has his faults. Absolutely. He makes it, you know, difficult for himself. whether it be what he says after the game, or I don't know. He certainly doesn't help himself, but I do believe his hands have been tied and he's in a very difficult situation. I think this is the end for him, but I do think that he's been neglected by the board, by these owners, by Daniel Levy. I don't know how they can get out of this. We've gone through so many different managers, and you know, one of you mentioned there since 2019. I mean, we've gone backwards since then. At a time where we should have rebuilt, come back stronger, and try and win the Champions League next year, we've gone backwards, and we've just wasted several years. It's like the stadium, absolutely lovely, but it's, you know, it should be a fortress. It's not. And that's the reality. From the way we recruit to just different ways we deal with transfer windows and managers, we're just not equipped to be a top side. I think that's, you know, the reality. So yeah, a lot of Levy out chance, Chris, a lot of Enoch out chance. Also, you had the banner from Change for Tottenham, and I think wherever you feel around the board, Levy or Enoch or Ange, I think we've all got to try and put a level of pressure on them to whether it be, you know, we want them gone or to stay, but we need them to do better. They're not doing enough for the manager. And where Ricky is right, if Ange Postecoglou was sacked tonight and another manager's brought in, absolutely, apart from maybe 1, 2, 3 games, that instant what they call managerial bounce, nothing's going to change. We're not going to all of a sudden, boom, we're back in the top 6 or okay, top 4 next season. It's not going to be like that. I think the reality is we're in deeper trouble than we thought, and I've played that down for a long while, so I hold my hands up. But I watched just today, that team, though, like you said, Chris, should be strong enough to get the job done. I just think we're genuinely awful. And I laughed when someone said to me a couple of weeks ago about being a relegation battle. But if you play like that, we're just lucky that, you know, there's some awful teams like Wolves, Southampton, Ipswich. If we play like that, though, we're in trouble. Losing to Everton's bad enough, but that was a really poor Leicester side today. So the chance, the pressure on Levy is completely understandable. But I just wished it'd be the same when, you know, we started winning games, because you all know if we won that game, it would have been completely different. It shouldn't be the result either way, and just been neglected. The result shouldn't matter. So that is on the fans, and that does frustrate me when that happens.
At the moment, we've got 5,000 people watching this stream talking about our defeat today, and we're getting hundreds and thousands of comments in. So I cannot simply go through all of them. We would be here all night. Craig and I will be running a fan show on Tuesday evening from 7 p.m. If you'd like to get involved in that and you'd like to come on to talk to me and Craig about the current situation or anything you like, whether you want to come on and have a rant, or whether you want to come on and ask us a question or take our questions put to you, please do send me an email, tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. There are a lot of comments, as I've said this evening, some of them of a very negative nature or personal nature to aimed at the guests or myself. You know, we don't really tolerate any of that. If this place isn't for you, if this channel isn't for you, there are plenty of other channels to go and click on. We don't need abuse. We love Tottenham Hotspur. We all want the same thing, and we don't deserve any abuse. So, as I say, there are other channels available. So if you want to click off here, I'm sure you can go on to another stream. Craig, I want to bring up that point because Harry has just made it. The banner today inside the South Stand, 24 years, 16 managers, 1 trophy, time for change. How do you feel about the football club right now?
Well, I'm sure this is true, but didn't the club make someone take that banner down? They were trying to get it took down, which is absolutely disgusting. What happened to free speech? You know, people pay their money, they're allowed their views. There's nothing on that banner that's rude, that he's having a dig at anybody personally. They're just asking for change, and they were asked to take it down. I think that's pretty disgusting, to be honest. What I don't like as well is the way they blast the music out at the end of the game to drown out any chance. I think that's disgusting as well. You're kind of trying to paper over the cracks and pretend there's not an issue there when there clearly is. How do I feel about the football club, I think was what you actually asked me. Are you talking about...
Can I also ask, what do you think a realistic change is? Because, you know, many people have spoken on this channel before, and you've heard a lot of them, Craig, by doing the fan shows, that a lot of people believe that the board will not change their ways, or they will not sell the football club. Because, you know, I was on TalkSport earlier, and I mentioned the fact that, you know, back in 2001 when Daniel Levy was involved in buying the football club, you know, they bought it for £22 million, and now the football club is worth between £4 and £5 billion. So yes, the board have done a lot of good for the football club, but surely at some point, they might decide, what, we've taken this football club as far as we can, to then sell to another investor if that happens. Is that realistic? Because I've said all along, I want my football club to operate in a different way. Now, when Ange Postecoglou came through the door, my exact words were, it has to change. Things have to change to what we've done before. Because when you've gone through Mauricio Pochettino taking us to a Champions League final, overnight they sack him. Surely he had enough credit in the bank. That's a whole new, debate. We could talk about that all night. Jose Mourinho comes in. Finally, someone like me thought we're going to win a trophy because Jose's won everywhere he's gone. Surely you have to back someone like Jose Mourinho coming in with his track record. We sack him 6 days before a final. Nuno Espirito Santo, Antonio Conte, blah, 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 blah. Same old story. We were going to put the Conte rant on here, but I don't think there's time to do that. What's a realistic change, I suppose I'm trying to ask the three of you?
The realistic change. The thing is, the change I think we all want is twofold, really. Either ENIC change the way they run the football club and Daniel Levy changes the way the football club is run, really backs them in. Look, we have spent money. We all know we've spent money. It's just some of it's been spent badly. And it's not just about spending money. It's getting the right players in at the right times. And clearly this month, we haven't got them in at the right times because nobody's come through the door apart from a goalkeeper. So if the owners are going to stay, all I'd ask is that they change the way they do what they're doing, because clearly it isn't working. History tells you that. All right, Daniel Levy buys the club in 2001, I think you said it was. You've got to give him at least 5 or 10 years to bed in different ideas and different ways to take the club forward, because we weren't in the best place. We did win a trophy in 2008. But after that, did we kick on? No, we didn't. Did the football get better under Redknapp? Yes. Then Poch came in. I think they got lucky. I'll be honest with you. I think they got lucky. I think we probably, in their eyes, we overachieved. But we got to that point, and that's when we should have kicked on, and we didn't. And it's been a downward spiral ever since. So what I'm saying is, if ENIC can't take us forward, and this current board cannot take us forward, and they're not going to change, then they need to go. They need to sell the club and let somebody come in and let somebody else have a crack. Because this rinse-repeat cycle cannot continue. The thing is, they will sell that stadium out week after week after week after week. The money's going to roll in. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. So I don't know what has to happen if you want the ball to move on. I don't run my own business. I don't know how that works. How do you get a board out of a football club if there's enough people that want that to happen? How does that happen? Because you've got to remember, we pay their bloody wages. The fans, the match-going fans, the fans that buy the merchandise, we pay their wages. So we get a say in how the football club is run, surely. And you can't shut people up nowadays because of great podcasts like this, because it's out there. They will watch this, they will watch other podcasts, and they will know how the fans are feeling. And if they don't know, they must be bloody stupid. But surely they must either change the way they run this football club and go about their business and do stuff, or sell to somebody that will come in and change the way we do stuff, because this cannot continue, because we're all losing patience with it. And it's just bloody ridiculous it's got to this stage, because 15th, 16th in the Premier League, it's not right for this club. It really isn't. It really isn't. And I tell you what, if we go to Anfield and play like we did today, they are going to rip us apart in that semi-final. And then what have we got left?
Ricky, what is a realistic change? I know we had some very interesting conversations, without divulging what was said or who we spoke to. We had some very interesting conversations last week. What is a realistic change?
Right now, mate, I really don't know. Like you said, it was like, even being away and having some great conversations, there were some insights and there was some home truths that I learned that shocked me and took me back and stuff like that. And it's waning on my faith. I'm a bit like Harry in the sense that I've always wanted better. Like I don't like I don't like hounding anybody out of their job and being like, oh, I think that it's just something that doesn't sit right with me, right? Just in life. And I don't know, mate. I've always wanted better from him, but it just seems like I've just said this so many times. It's like I remember a show like 5-6 years ago at January where I was like, please, Tottenham, like, please, the board. If you bring somebody in now, it gives everybody a lift. It puts some faith within the squad itself that go, oh, yeah, that you can see that this is what we need. And then you know, and then you can get a boost from it. Mate, I don't know. I remember speaking to you about it, and there's that talk that if it was sold, that Levy would want to stay on as chairman, or as I was like, the cheek of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the cheek of it. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I love my football club. I love loving my football club. I love sticking up for my football club. I love sticking up for the players. You know what I mean? Like if they deserve criticism, I will give it. You know, I'll try and be as fair as I can. But it's got to the point right now where we're just repeating the same sentences and the same rhetoric and I don't know if they're ever going to change. You know, I don't know whether they're ever going to like put the football side first right now. I'm with Craig in the sense that if you don't want to do it no more, then let somebody else do it. But right now, I saw that. I don't know whether you guys have seen it on Twitter, right? There was an article. I think it was from Mail Sport. I can't remember the reporter right now. But there was an article that's put out there, and he's really damning on Levy and that board and what they've done. And, you know, I think we're 9th richest club in the world, and we're 5th in the Premier League. And when you look at our wages, Craig, you're probably better with this for me. But if you look at our wages, I think it's like 42%, you know, like that we spend on wages, which is like one of the lowest, you know, especially with teams with ambitions of climbing that league. And the biggest comparison that I saw in that article was Aston Villa, who suddenly started putting their hand in their pocket and started paying for players, and we've seen their upturn. You know, I just don't know anymore, mate. I'm out of answers. I really don't know. I don't want to be ranty. I don't want to be like aggressive or anything like that. But it's just I don't know how much more we as a fan base can take. I don't know how much many more managers we can bring in and put them in that same situation, and we as fans expect them to kind of you know create miracles out of nothing and expect the upturn. It's never happened. You know, we know about Poch and the 500 and something days. You know, we know about, you know, a great conversation I had with you, Chris, was about Conte, where, you know, I was damning about Conte and what happened in his first full season, not the season that we got top 4, but the first full season. But through having that conversation with you, you know, Conte came in as a winner, and the board probably promised him A, B, and C. Yeah, we're going to give you what you need to compete in that summer. And when that didn't happen, maybe Conte lost his faith, and he was like, well, this is somewhere where I don't want to be, and then started hitting the self-destruct button. So this is what we've got right now. We can either bring in an elite top-class manager who expects the best, and we're going to give him nowhere near the best, or we bring in a project manager who's going to take the young ones and try and push them forward and try and build and try and kind of reach the heights that we want to reach as a club and as a fan base, plus with a sprinkle of miracles. But then when the biggest injury crisis that has ever happened to this club has happened, and the biggest circumstances, you know what I mean? We've had the illness, we've had the lot, you know, poor old Bentancur comes back after 7-game, suspension, first game back, gets a yellow card, out again, comes back, has a dodgy header, gets concussion, and then he's out for 2 weeks. Like, it is the biggest pile of terrible shizer that we've had to come up against. And the ones that can help are refusing. The ones that can do something are looking the other way. The ones that could change this whole, that could shift this whole boat and turn it in a different direction are like, sorry, mate, I'm at the office right now. Can you please call on Monday and Tuesday between the hours of 9 and 9:30, and I might be able to get back to you. It's gone beyond negligence now. And there's so many journalists, there's so many pundits, there's so many ex-professionals, footballers that are calling that board out, and they've got nowhere to hide right now. And I can't say anything that kind of that I can give them anymore. You know, like we've said, stadium, training ground, golf course, you know, F1. Yeah. Great. Concerts. Yeah, great. All the money's coming in. It's going to be used on transfers. Where? When we need it, isn't it? Where's the emergency fund? When we need it. Do you know what I mean? Right now, we more than need it. Right now, we're arguing about putting on youth academy players to give the seniors, or to give those that have been running to the ground, a rest. Can you hear what we're saying? We're not talking about 1 and 2. We're talking about a team.
That was an example. And the only reason I use that as an example is when Ange Postecoglou was appointed by Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy came out and said that Ange Postecoglou plays a lot of the youth players, and he's very much for the youth players. I don't agree with that, actually, because I've said to you a number of times, Ricky, and on this channel, that our under-21s last year was probably the best development side I've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur, winning 2 trophies as well, I might add. And I don't think that they were given an opportunity. And when you think as well, and a lot of people have said it on this channel in the last couple of months, Jed Spence has been, he's kind of been, Andrew's been forced to play Jed Spence because of the injuries, and it's worked out. Sergio Reguilon, who would have ever thought that Sergio Reguilon would be playing in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt this season? It's incredible the what we've had to go to because of lack of players. Harry,
the only thing that I'd say about Jed, bro, I'm only going to come back on Jed right now because we know Reggie is the forgotten man, and how he's playing, I don't know. But on Jed has had problems in various different clubs. Now, we don't know what those problems are. I have a kind of roundabout kind of guess about it.
We know, Rick, that he would have been sold. If Genoa were going to pay that money, he would have been gone.
Yeah, but there must be reasons behind that, because we can see what a quality player that he is. So we can only speculate on certain reasons why he wasn't let into the club, why he wasn't given game time. You know, you look at what Warnock said. So I think there's been problems with Jed, and I think that the Italy loan, I think, was a great loan for him. I think that maybe in that moment he was like, okay, cool. You remember when he went to Leeds? He wasn't getting no game times at Leeds, and Archie Gray was playing ahead of him. You know, that is before he went to France, and then he went to Italy. You know, so maybe he's a young player that maybe he's had an epiphany that gone, hold tight a minute. You know, like, let me sort my life out and let me get into this Tottenham team, you know, and little bit by little bit, it's come to an injury crisis scenario where he's got his opportunity, but at least he took it. And we've seen that he can affect games, and he can change games, and he can be a player that we can kind of rely on a little bit in there. And he's proven himself this season. I think that we need to look at it the other way, where he's gone through life as a young one, and he might have been, and I'm not saying that this is it, but he might have been swayed by the glitz and the glamour. He might have been swayed by, you know, the money in his bank, or he might have been swayed by the battle between being a professional player and then being a good mate with your friends from your area, you know. Sometimes you have that, you know. I know I had it a little bit as well when I went into Easties the first time. There was a thing between, you know, of course, I'm an East London boy, so I still walk on East London streets and I still talk to everybody. Do you know what I mean? But there was this thing where, you know, I got wrapped up in the money, the clubs. Do you know what I mean? And the attention for a period of time, and I had to catch myself a little bit and go, "Oh, time a minute, this ain't you." You know, and then I had to kind of come back to myself, you know. So what I'm saying is that maybe with Jed, he's had that, but with the opportunity that he's had, he's taken it. And you've seen the boss's words change with him. When he first started, he was like, yeah. It's all about the coaches. Coaches have helped Jed. Coaches have helped Jed. Third game in, he's like, Jed is affecting the game. We can rely on Jed. It's not just he's coming to be a body, but he's coming to affect it, and he can change certain things. So even the way that the manager spoke about Jed shifted with him. And shift. So what I'm saying is that there's so many things that we can't just say that they're FIFA players and just chuck them in. Do you know what I mean? There must be other circumstances around the reasons that certain players wasn't played. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, we've had a few comments saying about Ange does play the youth system because we've got Bergvall and Gray in. Well, we actually brought them in. Come on, I shouldn't need to be pointing these out. I meant the academy players. I'm sorry for sounding a bit prickly, but you know, you know what I meant. You know exactly what I meant about the academy players that come through the academy, not the players that we have bought in. Harry, before we come to you, it's interesting, and I'm going to put a point to all of you to think about is where is our next Premier League win coming from? Because these are our next fixtures in the next weeks or so. Brentford away next weekend. Then we've got Manchester United at home, Ipswich Town away, Manchester City at home, Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, Chelsea away, and then Southampton at home. I'd feel pretty confident on the Southampton at home one, but all the other fixtures I think are going to be very, very difficult. Harry, like I mentioned to the other guys, realistic change. What is a realistic change for you?
I don't know at the moment, and that's the thing. To be honest, obviously this defeat in this game is quite raw, and I don't like to base it off one game, but it is that bad, the performance and the result and just everything around it, that kind of a lot of things will change from this game, because I think Ange would have gone into the game, of course, under a little bit of pressure where we are, but I think it will come out of this under a lot of pressure. Realistically, the easiest thing is to say for the manager to go, but I don't think that would be the right thing to do in the grand scheme of things, where he isn't the main problem. Part of me thinks he should go, but it's if we got what was needed here, it'd be either ENIC to change their way, change this dire recruitment policy where it's it's all database, if they are young players, totally change that, because we don't compete with clubs like I don't know, Man City's, Liverpool's, Chelsea's, Arsenal's, where, and I get in the past why we didn't, but this is what sold the dream of moving into the new stadium. There were some fans, and I totally get it, been going to Spurs a long while. Many listeners, well, that feel this way, felt so strongly about the old White Lane, but compromised whether they wanted it or not, go into the new stadium, park in that history, because we were sold the dream that we'd be more ambitious. Chris, you mentioned the word ambition. Where is the ambition in the transfer window? Wherever you stand with this ownership.
It was meant to be a game changer, Harry. The stadium was meant to be a game changer.
Has it been?
Yeah.
We can't stop losing there at the moment, and we've just signed a goalkeeper. And January, yes, is a tough window, but West Ham putting 57 million bid in for Duran. That Villa have signed 2 players. City splashing the cash. There is movement to be done in January, and there's players there to sign. But we know how it's going to go with Daniel Levy, isn't it? We know it's to do with the wage. We know there's a lack of ambition, effort when it comes to the football side. And the business side, they've done so many good things, but I feel like the football club and the whole identity is slowly but surely being lost at the club, and it is quite sad. And the reality is, I think that we are all of a sudden a mid-table club. I think that's where we are. And it is painful to admit we have a ambitionless board. So, and that's the thing with Levy. It's easy to say, let's get Levy out. But I just think he's a puppet for the whole ENIC failure. And I think whoever is in his position as chairman, I just don't agree with ENIC, the way they go about things. It's profit over glory. It's all about exploiting fans. We've seen that. There's no consideration for fans. We've seen it. And I fully support the likes of the Save Our Seniors group, where we obviously got that removed. That was totally wrong. We just said a lot, everything you need to know about the club. So Ange, I feel like, is just going to take all the blame for it. And of course, I think he is part of the problem, but I'll say it again, he's not the main problem. Sacking Ange isn't the answer. It isn't the golden ticket. It's not the key to unlock the magic door. There's the foundations are broken, as Ange said before, at this football club, and people didn't like it from top to bottom. Conte said it. We've heard it several times. The reality is we should be sitting here still with Maurizio Pochettino as our manager, and probably, a trophy at least one, of ours because he asked for that rebuild after the Champions League finals. For me, it's incomprehensible how we didn't back him, and not to do that, but then to sack him. It's absolutely crazy. Liverpool found themselves in that same situation when they lost that Champions League final under Klopp against Real Madrid. They stuck with him. They backed him. Look where they're sitting now. Best in the Premier League. Best in the country, best in Europe. That's what happens when you are patient. That's what happens when you're ambitious. And it is too little, too late to start saying, right, let's give managers time, because it only works to give managers time when you show an ounce of consideration to back them. I'm not saying we should spend 100 or 150 million this window, but I'm saying give Ange what he needs. This team is depleted. You can see it. We named one less substitute today, and it just totally run into the ground. Look at Porro, look at Kulusevski. They look drained, the amount of games they played. Solanke, we all knew, didn't we, as Spurs fans? I said it on here. All of you guys have heard say it on here at different times. Solanke, we're going to run him into the ground. That's exactly what happened. It's just so predictable. The board knew what we needed going into the summer window. They didn't deliver. We knew what we needed going into the January window. We didn't deliver. It's all about reducing the wages. That's all good. But when will we see the benefit? All of us sitting here contribute so much to the club. We're paying so much. Where is that going? I just think we need answers. We need, Levy, Lange, Munn, whoever it may be. We need that form of communication, which is just so non-existent at this club, which we see in other clubs. I feel like I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but I've never felt this strongly at all in my lifetime, or since I've started podcasting on different bits. But I'm livid because I see our problems, and I think it could be quite simply solved. And the problems do start from the top. There are a lot of problems, but I think with a little bit more ambition and going about it in different ways, and not getting people involved in the football club that reality don't have a clue about football club. And I'm looking at Daniel Levy here, great businessman, but doesn't know a lot about football. It's just a total mess. It's a total mess, and I don't see how they can, go through yet another manager. How can the manager be the problem? How can the players be the problem? I'm not saying they aren't part of it, but surely we have to come around now to realizing it's these owners, it's this board. They're gutless, they're ambitiousless, and we just go nowhere as a club. What's the aim? Where are we going? What's the long-term project? These are the questions that need answering. And some people will turn around and say, yeah, the fan forums. All we got is we've got our Tottenham back, where people selected. We know why they were selected to go there. And the questions that are answered, they're all good on that. But we've got no answers on the direction of this club. All other clubs, they have a trajectory. They have Arsenal, for example, very, very critical of the Cronkies. But they will speak to the fans. They will do things with the media. They will say their plan. They were clear all along about backing Arteta. They believe he's the one. Newcastle, with their ownership, all the faults it has with being Saudi money. You hear regularly, their interaction with the fans. There's something there. We just feel like customers and nothing else. And just going to be another customer, another victim of this vicious cycle. It's a cycle at Tottenham. It's time to break the cycle. And do something different. But a very long-winded answer. I'm very sorry, Chris. But their problems lie really, really long. But it starts at the very top.
I honestly don't know how long the fan show is going to last on Tuesday, Craig, because, if Harry's answering questions like that with that length, and, of course, everyone wants to rant, everyone wants to have their say, and I completely get it because I've done it myself this evening. Craig, I'm going to, before we talk about the actual game itself, can you tell me how you actually feel right now?
Firstly, let me say, I think Harry's something like 37 years my junior, and he said a lot, a lot of what Harry said. In fact, most of what Harry said, he said a lot better than what I ever could. So well done, Harry.
Yeah, we'll be trading you in soon.
Yeah, in younger model, I'll get that. Yeah, he's got to be able to grow a Nuno beard.
He's got the job.
How do I feel about the club? Disillusioned. I think if you're looking for one word, totally disillusioned. Well, that's two. Disillusioned. I've been here before. We all have. Most of us have. But I think I don't think I've felt as low as I do now for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I would say. I think now he's a rock bottom. And do you know what, earlier, when we'd lost, I was kind of numb to it. And that's when it scares me. That's when it scares me, when I felt like, oh, do you know what? We've lost again. I can't be bothered with this. I can't. Why do I put myself through it every week? Why do I put myself through it? My son said to me, I don't know if I said it earlier on here in the green room, my son said to me, how have you put up with this for 51 years? Like, you know, I ain't got an answer. Dad, why are we not Liverpool fans? I haven't got an answer. Do you know what I mean? You can't choose your club, can you? In many ways, you're like born into it, aren't you? I suppose is the only answer. But as I'm sitting here now, obviously, I'm just annoyed, disillusioned. Thought it was going to be different this time, but it hasn't been, and it won't be, and it's never going to change. And that's the thing. Under ENIC, we've been here before. We've been here for 24 years. It's never going to change because they've got the opportunity to change. They've had the opportunity to change. As Harry said with Pochettino, they had the opportunity to change and they didn't. They didn't. That man, 100%, that man should still be in charge of this football club. Yes, he had a dip. Their away form 2018-19 season across that calendar year wasn't very good. But you could see that squad needed reinforcements after that Champions League final, and they didn't give him what he wanted. And that's when it all started for me. We was up here. We was on this trajectory, and we was going up and up and up and up and up. Got to a Champions League final, and all but a handball law that changed within a month afterwards, and just some sheer bad luck. All right, you could say, and I agree with this. I don't think you should have played Harry Kane, started him in the final. Should have started Lucas Moura and brought Harry Kane on. That's a discussion for another day. That's a discussion for another day. But Poch had credit in the bank, enough credit, the Arteta type of credit, the Alex Ferguson type of credit that Manchester United gave him all them years ago, the Klopp type of credit. This is what big clubs do. They say they're going to have a process. They say they're going to have a change. They say they're going to have a rebuild, and they trust in it. But along with that, you have to back the manager. Can anybody out there, that's the really interesting question. Can anybody out there say Levy and ENIC have backed managers? I guarantee not one of you. Not one of you. And that speaks volumes more than anything I could ever say.
But you know what? A joke that ain't even funny, gents and listeners and viewers and all of it, is that we've had how many players leave us that were not good enough for us go on to lift the trophy? How many managers that have left us that have not been good enough for us, not been good enough for us, have gone on to be top of their leagues or to be progressing or to be achieving something?
Emerson Royale.
There's one common denominator throughout the lot of that, bro, and I think it's coming to a head now.
I said this on, I think, the last podcast, Ricky. I feel like everyone is talking about the board. Everyone is talking so much more openly about the way that the football club is run. I think that's a fair comment, and rightly so, because, of course, we have gone round in circles a number of times, which is deeply frustrating to us all. And I've got to say as well, at the end of the game, I normally go down to where the players are coming off the pitch and film the players coming off, which is excellent in terms of body language. And by the way, if you haven't seen it already, Kulusevski couldn't get off the pitch quick enough. He just wanted to get down that tunnel and get off. Other players waited around. Other players went over to the south stand, etc. And there are a number of Daniel Levy chants. And when I actually turned round, Daniel Levy was still standing there. In front of his seat, which I was really, really surprised about. He didn't literally get off, off his seat and go up to his executive area. He stood there and listened to all of the chants aimed at him. I tell you, the guy must be made of steel to accept that abuse and stand there, because I think that, it must be very, very difficult to take. Ricky, before we talk about the game, I'm just going to ask you how you are feeling right now, because, of course, you and I went to Germany on Thursday. Yes, we had a good laugh. Yes, we're good friends, and we mucked about. We visited certain places. We had a few drinks, which was great. But the football, it was good to see us get a win. I know some people criticised that win, but it was very important to get the 3 points. We grinded out the result, as we all know, and this isn't me being a happy clapper. As we all know, when you go away in Europe, and James Maddison also said this, how many teams win away in Europe? Not many. We got the job done. There was that good, that good feeling, that feel-good factor that you go into that Leicester game thinking, right, Leicester have lost, and I'm sorry to say it again, Leicester have lost 7 going into this match. It's a must-win. You've got to win this game, regardless of what team you're going to be putting out. So how are you feeling right now? Because it's difficult, isn't it? You're up here, and then very quickly, bang.
I feel exhausted, bro. I feel emotionally and physically exhausted. I feel despondent. I'm super angry, mate. I'm super angry because the reason another reason that I'm behind Ange is because it's like you said there, when you see it clicking and when you see where he wants to go. We haven't seen Ange ball in about 8-9 weeks, gents. Like, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen what he does. That the overlapping, the inverted fullback did it. We haven't seen it for ages, and that's because of the of all of the problems. We haven't been able to do that, and the boys are out on their feet. We know that, and we've seen that, and nothing's changed. And it's just so disappointing, bro. It is so disappointing that we like you said there, we get a win, a much needed win, but you could see how knackered but relieved the boys were to get that win. So I'm with you. So I'm thinking the same. All right, cool. Come on. I know the boys are tired. I know they are. All right. It's technically an early kickoff, 2 p.m. in the UK. After a flight back, I know we're going to have the same type of problems. But come on, please Tottenham, please Tottenham, please Tottenham. Because with you, Chris, there's no way we should have lost that game. Leicester have been in a terrible state of form for a long time, and it was more about us giving them encouragement. That pass that didn't go the right way. We kept giving them the ball. We gave them confidence, and towards that end of the first half, they were buoyant in the sense that if they go at us in the second half, that they're going to get something. And within 5 minutes of that second half, they were 2-1 up. Like, I don't know, mate. I feel like I need a break. I feel like I need to go on holiday and just turn off football. Because I love it, but bloody hell, I hate it too, especially when it comes down to things like this, I just look, all of the fans that will get me for backing Andrew or get me for bringing out positives over the last weeks, it's only because I love my club, right? And it's only because I want them to be the best that they can possibly be. And, I can see where they want to go. In the sense of like Poch, when Poch came in, I could see where he wanted to go, and I believed in Poch. And ever since Poch, I personally haven't seen that. I've seen some good performances. I've seen some good ends to the season. I've seen us get into top 4. Okay, fine, but I haven't seen us step it up and step on and step forward. We go 2 steps forward and then we go 8 back, and it just leaves me not knowing what to say, even though I have a 15-minute rant.
Ricky, it's fair to say Ange Postecoglou has had or got a worse run record.
Yeah.
And other managers have been sacked for a lot less. Why do you think that? Why do you think that change hasn't been made yet? And if I ask you the question or to predict the next game, Elfsborg, of course, at home on Thursday in the Europa League, and then we face Brentford away in the Premier League on Sunday. Do you think Ange will be in charge for these matches?
Right now, I the only thing that I can say is I don't know, mate. I don't know. The thing is that with I can't defend the results. At the end of the day, we need to pick up points. And the fact that we're so far down at the table, of course, all eyes are going to be on Ange. And you know what? If he was to get sacked for the results, in normal circumstances, everybody would be on the same page. Everybody would be on the same page.
We're 16 points away from a European spot.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. It's like, but what have they done to help, bro? There's no way that we should be there, but we have had massive problems for a long time. Now, during December, we had, again, games every 3 days, right? We wanted Europe this year, but we've had games every 3 days, every 2 days over December. By December 31st, we knew in what dire straits position that we was in. The same position that we had last year at the same time, right? So come on. So all right, cool. The transfer market know that we're a little bit desperate come January 1st. So they're going to chuck on an extra 5 mil for a player that we might want. Right now, we're in, I don't know another word for desperation or lower than desperation, because we're starving right now. We're malnutrition right now, you know, and before you might have wanted a steak. Right now, if they gave you a Ritz biscuit, you'd be like, yes, please, can I just have a little nibble? Because we are starving. I don't know what to say anymore, bro. I really don't know what to say anymore. I think they've put him in they've put us all in a possible position. And if those people that are crying, like my dad, you know, my dad is had enough of Ange, and I go back and forth with him as well. But I totally get where he's coming from. It's not like he's making a point that I can say that you're wrong. I can't say, Dad, you're wrong. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I can just say, but, you know, and that's all I can say. But right now, there ain't no buts left. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Like I said in the last couple of podcasts, Ricky, that have been extremely difficult to record and talk to you guys on. The fact that, you know, no opinion is right or wrong. It's just how we feel as Spurs fans. And like I keep saying again and again and again, we all want the same thing. Harry, before we come to you, we're going to hear from Ange Postecoglou. This is what he had to say after the match.
Tough one to take in, Ange. How do you find it there today?
Yeah, no, tough one to take in. But look, I think aside sort of from that 5-minute patch after half-time, I thought we controlled the game well. We certainly have enough chances to win the game, but things weren't dropping our way. And but again, I'll just repeat myself. I think the players are giving everything they can. Every bit of energy they've got. They're trying as hard as they possibly can, and but ultimately a disappointing day.
And you've won wherever you've been. How tough has this been for you at the moment? I mean, just for you personally, we know what's going on with the team, but this must be hitting you hard. Yeah, it does. But at the same time, I'm kind of responsible for it, so you've got to take that on board. But when you're in this kind of position, you're kind of looking at the people around you, and I just feel the players, the staff, the people at the football club that I deal with. They're still totally supportive of what we're trying to do, and that's all you can ask for as a manager. I think for me that's that gives me the energy and put aside my own sort of disappointment and feelings and make sure I help and support these people who are trying everything they possibly can, trying as hard as they can to turn this around.
And you mentioned it there, what was your view of that 5-6 minute spell after half time when Leicester got their goals?
Yeah, hard to say. We obviously, you come out second half, they're going to have a little bit of energy. They're 1-0 down, and we just sort of got caught a bit cold. But, it's not just the physical fatigue, it's the mental fatigue for these group of players, to constantly be at it. They put in a massive shift on Thursday night to get the job done, and then, they had to back up again today, and same group of players. Some of them, probably shouldn't have been out there, but we're asking them to dig in as much as they can, and they are. And I think from that perspective, that's all you can ask for.
Must be difficult as well there when you see Richarlison in 55 minutes and think, I'd love to leave him in the game and hopefully get some more service into him, but you've got to manage his time as well.
Yeah, he's actually feeling his groin. He probably should have come off at half time, but he wanted to stay out there and do another 10 minutes, but I could see he wasn't moving well, so we had to take him off. And Pape was the same. Pape should never have started today, but he obviously we lost Matters really late, so we had to make a change and start with Pape. And like I said, I think I can't get away from the fact that these group of players are giving everything they can. And look, they'll get some help soon. Next 10 days, 2 weeks, we'll get some significant players back, and I know they'll give a boost to the whole group. And as I keep saying to the players and the staff, there's still some great opportunities to make this season a special one for us. And we need to just
dig deep and focus on that.
I realise you'll have to manage it, but any chance on Thursday of some help for the players in terms of?
We'll see. Like there's definitely a couple getting close. Kuti and Mickey definitely getting close now, and they'll be training with a group, which is great. Just even having them training with a group's great. And then there's a couple who aren't too far off on the horizon as well, so that'll definitely help.
Harry, Ange seems to be very calm in the interview, having just lost that game against Leicester. And he said now a number of times, the situation will hopefully get better when these players come back. Do you feel that confidence as well?
Not at the moment, no, not following the defeat. But I do think you argue he has a right to be able to prove that. So, do the owners give him that? For me, he probably has a right to be in charge for that second leg against Liverpool. We all we want us to win a trophy, and absolutely. And then, let's see what Ange can do with that, because we are still in 3 competitions. But it does feel like, a broken record listening after the game, saying the same thing. And the message for me couldn't be clearer. We need numbers. And he didn't refer to it there. I mean, if I'm Ange at this point, I think, Joe, I'm probably getting sacked anyway. I need to win the fans on side. I'm not saying go full Antonio Conte, okay, you have to get sacked, but I'd be dropping more hints, even more. I'd be really pushing the line that we need help, and we need to go, which he's been saying, but we need help in the transfer window as well as players coming back. We shouldn't have to rely on that. And what people were saying, you can see it this week, we don't need to sign a centre-back. Romero and Van der Ven are back. But that isn't good enough. That's what a club like Tranmere Rovers would be saying. It's all right. We've got Bob down the road coming back next week. It shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't have to rely on that. We should be having these players, boom, ready to go. And let's be clear here. Ricky's alluded to it. I'm going to mention it again here. We've been very unlucky with injuries. We have been. And that's, I believe, the main reason we've struggled. But how do you adapt? How do you cope with that? And that's where it comes back to ambition and back in a manager. It's as simple as that. And I don't want to sound like I'm battering the board, the ownership or anything, but I do think this does lie with them. And Ange is just being too nice. Feels like a little bit of a yes man in terms of he's really sticking by them and making he's taking the hits, basically. He's taking the blame, which is good on him, and he should take some of it, don't get me wrong, but I'd be also deflecting a little bit of the way of the board. So yeah, he sounded really calm, but it's the same message. You can predict it when we lose. It's the same thing. We need help. I'm proud of these players. I'm glad he's sticking by the players. That's what you want to hear. There'd be some players that I'd call out a little bit more. I'm going to say it. Craig said it at the start as well. James Maddison. I'm sorry if you're feeling a little bit sore, but we've got players right now that are out. Okay, you were absolutely fine Thursday night and you played well. But it feels like Maddison picks and chooses when he wants to play well. I'm not having that. If you play for this club, then you need to be doing better than that. Maddison hasn't performed consistently. He's the big talk off the pitch. He doesn't show it on the pitch consistently enough. He's absolutely fine. There's other players that play far more minutes. He mentioned there, Sarr. I'd like to allude to Kulusevski, Porro run into the ground, but credit to them. They keep coming back, keep playing. Archie Gray, prime example, been played everywhere. And he's just, you hear him, he's happy. He speaks so well, by the way. I think a future captain speaks so well. And he's doing anything he can to help the team. We've got players like Maddison. You can see it. Gaffer, I can't play today. I'm a bit sore. I can't buy that. And at the time we're in, we need help, but we need to do more in this transfer window. And
do you know what, Harry?
Get business done.
During the Amazon documentary, the medical staff would have never ever allowed. Jose Mourinho had a number of injuries at that time, and the medical staff would never have allowed those players to play in games if they weren't fit. They would never have been playing in those games. What do you make of that decision for Ange publicly to come out and say, well, they never should have played? And would it have been more of a message to the board by Ange Postecoglou playing a lot of these development players?
It should be. If I'm the board right now, and even if my aim was purely on profits over glory, I think that's completely wrong. But even if it is that way, I'll be saying, right, okay, look, he's calling for help right now. I want the best, and I need to do something. I need to act, but I don't know what the point is of bringing in Man, of bringing in Lange, because what have they done? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing that's done at this football club, and that's the thing, right? And it really annoys me. last season we weren't in Europe, and we had to, you know, whether it's good enough or not, I'll leave it up to the individual to decide. But we had a big squad, far too big, in fact. And it was right to reduce it, but we've now got a really thin squad when we knew we were playing in Europe in the new European format. It's like we didn't know. It's like, you know, Daniel, you said to Daniel Levy, oh, by the way, Daniel, you know, Europe starts tomorrow and, you know, you're playing more games. Boom, there you go, you're in Europe. He knew about this. It's all these things that are known about. It's not a case of, Daniel, you've got 31 days. There's not a lot of players available, not a lot of movement, not a lot of money. But it's what annoys me is when you hear figures like 5-10 million that our budget for this window is. Who are we? Watford? It's embarrassing. It really is. How can we expect to close the gap to other teams? We hear this all the time, Chris. Closing the gap to the best teams in the country. How can you do that? If your budget is 5 or 10 million a window, something has to change. Something's not adding up here. The money that stadium generates and is, you know, creates lots of problems for himself. I think he's too nice, but it speaks volumes, doesn't it? When he says Sarr shouldn't have played, Richarlison should have come off early, and you can see it. The players going, Gaffer, I want to keep going. They want to help out. We're going to run these players into the ground, Gray, and that will really knock his young career Bergevall. We've got to be very careful, and it can't be good for them, can it? Going on that pitch every week and losing. It can't be good for their confidence at such a young age. Something has to change. I'm all for going through bumps, but this bump is very, very long, and this bump is purely caused by the board. They're just sitting here doing something. They should be on the phone saying, okay, what do you want? We're going to give it. And it's about negotiation on the table, so we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I doubt we've been in any talks for any player at all. You know, West Ham recognise they're in a tough situation, players out, boom, there's your bid for Duran. If it doesn't happen, okay, but we're going to show, let's do our bit. Show that ambition. And it just, we haven't done that, Chris. And it really frustrates me because I think Andrew will go. I think he'll go, whether it be next week, you know, today, tomorrow, couple of weeks, wherever it will be, he will go eventually. We know how it's going to go. It'll be another manager come in. It'll be one last chance for this board and ownership. We've said that too many times. Time to end that.
Of course, that interview was a club-led interview. Obviously, the national media have done a lot of interviews at Ange, and there'll be very different questions and very different answers. Craig, on Ange Postecoglou's recent interviews, particularly the one after the Everton game, when the interviewer said familiar story, and he looked and said familiar story and quite a prickly reply. What have you made of Ange Postecoglou's interviews, and what have you made of that one? Because it just seems a little bit weird, the fact that he's so calm, you know, and normally Ange, when he's annoyed or frustrated, you know, he shows it.
Yeah, I think the fact is with the interview with the club, he knows he's not going to get too many difficult questions. He's just going to have to go out there and it's just pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. So that's probably what that is, unless he's just resigned it himself to, because he knows what's coming. That's the only thing I can think. I mean, I know he's a fairly calm character generally, but I don't think he's in. I can't remember who said it now, but I think it might have been Harry. But he's not really gone in on the board at all, as he does take a lot of it. He is to a certain extent. I wouldn't say he's a complete yes man, but he he does make it easier. He does take the blame for a lot. So look, we all saw what Conte did in his rant, and everything he said in that rant was pretty true, wasn't it? And we know that. So, you know, would I love Ange to come out and say something like that? Yeah, absolutely, I would. But at the end of the day, he's protecting his position to a degree, I suppose, because he knows if he did go down the Conte route, then he would definitely get the sack, because the club have shown in the past that's what they do. So, but it doesn't surprise me that he is that way in that interview, no, Chris, because it's with the club and they're quite soft questions.
Ange Postecoglou talking after the game to Sky Sports, he said, yes, it hurts a lot. The players gave everything again. We're going to look at a lot of things, but in terms of the effort, I can't ask any more of this group. He then spoke about the transfer window, asked Spurs close to any more additions. He says, not that I'm aware of, but the club are working hard to remedy that.
Jesus.
So, right, let's get on to the game. I know we're nearly an hour and a half in. let's get on to the game. Let's talk about the starting 11. Craig, I'm going to start with you. Kinski, Poro, Dragushin, Davis, Gray, Bergvall, Bentancur, Sarr, and then the forward line of Kulusevski, Richarlison, Heung-min Son. Subs today: Ajayi, Austin, Basuma, Lancashire, Elise, Moore, Reguilon, and Yang Min Hyuk. Now, Craig, when this team lineup came out, were you surprised? I know obviously Maddison was out injured, but like I've said, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, I felt like this starting 11 more than good enough to beat Leicester. Yes, in the first 10 minutes, as we've already mentioned, that opening 10, 20 minutes, the players did look tired. What did you make of the starting 11 today?
To be honest, this is a really easy one because I'm not really sure what else he could have done with those players available, all those players listed there.
Yeah.
I mean, would you have slung him Reguilon from the start? Probably not. Yang Min Hyuk, it's quite obvious to see that he's nowhere near ready yet. And everybody else, obviously, Basuma's coming back from injury. Lancashire hasn't played much at all. Mikey Moore possibly is the only one you could sling in there. But again, he's coming back from injury, so he's probably better as an impact player. So I'm not quite sure what else he could have done. We're obviously one substitute light on the bench anyway. So it clearly shows we're down to bare bones.
So this is my exact point to Ricky earlier. Now, you say about, we could have played Reguilon, but we played Gray instead. So if you're talking about battery life, like Ricky mentioned earlier, Reguilon, 100% battery. Archie Gray, what percent battery has he got, would you say, Craig, going into this match?
Probably a fair bit less, probably down to 70, 75, but he's a young lad. He's obviously fit. And a lot of people would probably rather see Archie Gray at left back than Reguilon anyway, because he's such a capable player.
Yeah, I'm not saying Reguilon should start above Archie Gray. I'm just talking about battery levels. So when you're talking about somebody has got a far better battery level than other players, should they be playing ahead of those players to use the squad and utilise the squad in the right way?
There's an argument for that. There is, yeah. Reguilon's still there. I didn't think Reguilon looks that bad when he comes on, to be honest with you. I really don't. I thought he's had a couple of decent games when he's come on. So if you want to give Archie Gray a rest, the option was there. But apart from that, I'm not sure what else he could have done today. Let me just say, 5,500 people watching. I think that's a podcast record. So it's just a shame it's come on a really, really crappy day.
Yeah, the Evening Standard have just reported that Tottenham head coach Ange Postecoglou has admitted he doesn't know if he will still be in charge in 2 weeks' time, but insists he still feels the support of the dressing room. Ricky, do you want to give your thoughts on the starting 11 today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit with you guys there when you're talking about battery levels. I kind of, not that I would pick Reggie over anyone, but like I kind of would have probably started him at left back and pushed Gray into midfield just because Sarr wasn't ready. We're bringing the ones that we're bringing back. They're not fully fit anyway, but we ain't got time for them to get fit. We've got to chuck them in, and you can see what effect that them decisions make. So I am with you on that one. But I'm with Craig in the sense that there was not much. I kind of expected the same. I was really hoping that Maddison was going to be in there because I wanted him to kind of build on that kind of scruff of the neck performance that he had in Hoffenheim. He was everywhere in Hoffenheim. He was popping about. He was making great through ball. He was doing so much that it was a massive loss that he wasn't there today. And even if he started and then came off, I would have been a bit happier with that. But this is the scenario that we're in, mate.
Ange Postecoglou was pushed on will he be the Spurs manager in the next couple of weeks. He said, who knows? I reckon there is probably a fair chunk that will say no. When you're a manager of a football club, you can be very vulnerable and isolated. I don't feel that. I feel this group of players, not for me, are giving everything for the club. I have a group of staff that is really committed. I focus on that. Now,
does everybody believe that? Let's just ask that question. Are the players with Ange?
For me, I would have said they would have been, but then I see like that North London derby where I think we just simply didn't turn up, and I really question that. I think the players probably are. I think we saw like Thursday night with the leaders stepping up, but I think they are absolutely drained. But I think only part of it is whether the players are behind him or not. Because let's use Nuno for example. We heard even like just before that Man United defeat, even after Man United defeat, that Nuno's like it's a tough time, but I feel the support of the club around me. Well, within a couple of hours, he was sacked. So, I don't quite believe any of that. The players are probably still behind him. But I do question, as I said, senior players like Maddison. Are you really sore? If so, why? They probably are behind him, I would say, yeah, answering your question. They probably are.
I saw the players drop off and almost down tools for Nuno. I mean, I saw that a couple of times in that 3 months that he was there. But go on, Craig. What do you think? Do you reckon that the boys are playing for him?
I think they probably are. I do. I don't think he's lost the dressing room. I've seen plenty of Tottenham performances where like you say, they've down tools. I think they probably are. You might have a couple of dissenters in the ranks, but to be honest, I don't see it yet. I don't think he's got to that point yet. But we have all seen Tottenham players throw managers under the bus before.
And Chris,
Sadly.
You've been home and away every single game, bro. What's your opinion?
Undoubtedly, players like Bergvall and Gray, they are the ones that normally go up to Ange Postecoglou and they hug. And I think they're extremely grateful for the opportunity that they've had under Ange Postecoglou. So, of course, those players will always be with the manager for giving that opportunity. However, I would question a number of other players, whether they are giving their absolute all, because I felt sometimes in some of these games that some of these players haven't given their all. We had the discussion after the North London derby. I didn't feel like some of those players give everything they should have done. In the Everton game, I felt like the players should have given more. And I do feel that it is an easy excuse sometimes to just say tired. I just believe that we're not the first team in the Premier League, and we won't be the last to have a lot of players out injured at any one time. And I just feel like it's very easy to say, oh, we're missing X, Y, and Z. Other managers do find a way of getting best out of other players. Other managers do adapt to systems, and if they haven't got certain players that can do a job on a pitch, they then change, and we don't do that. And that is what I would question. So,
but the players that are there, like, I mean, I would give you this: the unwanted man, Sergio Reguilon, is got all the reasons behind him to down tools and to go, you want me now, do you?
Don't agree.
I mean? He's been in the reserves. He's been shipped out on loan left, right, and centre. We've tried to get rid of him. There was talk of him leaving this January so that we could open up another spot, etc., etc.
Ricky,
but
he's playing.
Injuries have determined that he plays, and even he's trying to give to this situation. I didn't see him down tools. Do you know what I mean? I think that there's you can see that these players are with him, and you can see that they want to do the best that they can do. But yes, tiredness, yes, exhaustion, yes, injuries. I don't think I've ever seen another side have the amount of injuries continuously that we have had. Every time we get one back, we lose another three. You know, after that Guna game, we lost Johnson, Basuma, Sarr. Do you know what I mean? And we give Spence a rest. I say a rest, but he wasn't in the Europa squad. And then we hear Friday morning that Spencer's got a knock. They're like, if we're not cursed, do you know what I mean? If this is not the worst amount of nastiness and injury and bad energy and I don't know what, bad luck. I don't think another side has ever had to ride the wave that we're riding right now. And yet I still see them boys giving, until they're out on their feet. Sorry, Chris.
Ricky, I do think, though, when you have certain players out, you do need to adapt your system sometimes in order for, because a player playing a certain role, who's a really decent player for us, Mickey van der Ven or whoever you want to pick, right? And then you have another player come in of less quality, you're expecting them to do exactly the same job, and they're not capable of that always. So I feel like the system sometimes needs to change.
And it did against Everton, and then what happened?
Okay.
He changed the system against Everton, went to a back three to try and support and look after Davies because he wasn't supposed to play that whole game.
But there's not just two
and then
formats
what happened?
you can play. There's plenty of other things you can do.
But what I'm saying is that even when he does adapt and when he does change, he doesn't get that credit for when it does happen. And when he's gone to the extreme of a back three, which we haven't really seen. Might have seen it once or twice in the second half or so, but we haven't really seen that. So he's done that for a reason. He's pulled the line back. He's gone, all right, and cool. Let's do what a lot of fans have been asking for, which is consider. I can't speak. Which is to pull back and kind of hold and then break on them and then try and use our energy and try and use different players to do different things. And we were all over the place against Everton. In fact, I think it was you that said to me I don't know if it was you, Chris, so it might have been somebody else. But I think it was you that said, actually, I would have had more respect for him if he would have stayed and stuck to his system than changing it. So what is he supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that you're right, you're wrong. I'm not doing anything. I've always said I think every single Spurs fan that's got any opinion is right, but I'm just putting it back out there.
All I'm saying is, yes, we have a lot of injuries, but you cannot keep using that as an excuse week in, week out, because you need to adapt to get results. And I just feel like we don't do that enough. And this season has been, so up and down. The amount of dodgy results that we've had in the Premier League, I don't think is good enough, especially when, it's a results-led business. But in answer to your original question about players playing for him, I think that a lot of them are. I would question one or two. Harry, let's come to you. Let's talk about that opening 10 minutes because after 5 minutes, ball over the top, Richarlison couldn't quite get there. After 10 minutes, Leicester had a shot blocked. The follow-up, shot on target, easy for Tony Kinski. Now, I've written down here in the opening 10 minutes, and we've mentioned this a little bit already, the amount of times sloppy passes, giving the ball away. I even mentioned to Ricky the other day that the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium sometimes, and you'll probably agree with me on this, that the 12:30 kickoffs, the 2 p.m. kickoffs on a Sunday can sometimes be very slow or very quiet inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the crowd to get up for these games sometimes. And after that 10 minutes, the crowd got a bit tetchy, and Bentancur at that point was trying to tell his teammates just to calm down, to try and slow things down, to calm down. What do you make of that over 10 minutes? Because when you go into a game like this with Leicester, and dare I say it again, 7 defeats on the spin going into this game, sitting in the bottom 3 at the time, what do you make of those first 10 minutes?
Well, it felt like a relegation 6-pointer. You had a senior player in Bentancur telling the team to calm down, as you said, and we looked really nervy. It looked like one of them. That's the reality. And the way we play, we could be involved in a few more of these, and I don't think that's no joke. I think the table, it's not it is a surprise where we are, but based off how we've been playing, obviously the results, just generally the whole mood around the club, we deserve to be there. And you're right, Chris, in terms of that team should be good enough to go out there and win the game. But yeah, it was a really nervy start to the game, and overall it was a really poor performance. The players on the pitch are being overworked to this sum that you mentioned, Gray, Bergevall, they're punching above their weight, every week going out there at such a young age and doing a fantastic job. Spencer's another, obviously not involved today. There's so many pulling this team just about together. The reason that Ange is still in the job. But at the same time, there are some that aren't pulling their weights. There is a balance of both. Bentancur ordered for calm. Obviously, we will get onto it, but it did get a little bit better before it got worse. But, you would think that we were playing like an Arsenal Man City. This is a Leicester side that before this game had only won once on the road this season against a really poor Southampton side at the end of October. They don't score any goals and possess zero attacking threat, apart from set pieces, or they're not going to score. If you watch any Leicester game, they never look like they're going to score, even with the performances. Look at XG stats, for example, will completely back that up. But defensively, they're atrocious. They're an absolute mess defensively. And there was several times today, whether it be from their corners or free kicks or goal kicks, that went out of play or gave to us. They were really poor. They're I think they're going to be in the Championship next year. They're an awful side who played, I thought, really poor today. But the second half, they come along, didn't they? A little bit more energy, a little bit more belief that Van Nistelrooy would have installed at half-time. And we come out like we've just been given some bad news. We were awful, really, really bad. But those first 10 minutes were really nervy. Not what you expect on the back of a really positive win where we had to grind it out, rightly or wrongly. We got the win, got the win, which is all that matters on Thursday. But we should have come out up and firing, looking to bounce off and feed off that positivity, that morale boosting win, and push on. But we didn't. Really nervous first 10 minutes where neither side could settle.
There's a comment here from Philly Deli's bro. Bit of a shitty comment actually. If you've come in on this podcast an hour and 40 in, and then questioning about what we've spoken about, I suggest you go and listen to the hour and 40 and then come back to us halfway. So yeah, I'm not even going to go there. I tell you, we don't entertain abusive comments on this channel. As I've said, there are plenty of other channels out there. So if you want to go and abuse someone else, go and do it. Because we're not what this is all about. We're here to talk about Spurs. You're either with us or you're not. Craig, let's come to you. Sarr shot on goal after 12 minutes. A couple of minutes later, Pedro Porro forcing a good save from the goalkeeper. It was a good strike, wasn't it? Craig, we can't hear a word.
Sorry. Yeah, really good strike by Porro. He really hits the ball well. You could say that he should have scored, but it was a fair way out. So he's always just making the keeper work is the main thing. But he must be running on empty, Porro. He's been overplayed more than anybody, like I said before. He's and there was times during that game he looked absolutely knackered. Jed Spence being out, obviously injured now, is not helping that because you think Jed would have started. He's had a good run of games, but yeah. It wasn't a terrible. I didn't think at that point. I didn't see Leicester scoring 2. That's the thing. I really didn't. I thought if we get ahead, we're just going to go on to cruise and win this game. And how wrong I was. Christ, been watching this club long enough.
After 15 minutes, After 15 minutes, Leicester crossing, deflected, Kinski tipping over the bar. After 17 minutes, Heung-min Son beating a couple of Leicester players, shooting in the bottom corner, and a good save from the goalkeeper. A good moment from Heung-min Son there, Craig, wasn't it?
It was actually like seeing the old Sonny back for a little while, cutting inside, taking on a couple of players. Like I said, he could have probably gone down after the second tackle came in. I thought he was going to go down, but stayed on his feet, used the defender, curled the ball around him, and it was a really good save, actually, low to the keeper's left. Probably deserved the goal, that, but yeah, it really was good to see Sonny doing that, and just shows he has still got it. We just want to see more of it.
After 20 minutes, ball play forward to Richarlison, who was on the end of it. His shot was saved, but it was offside. A minute later, Leicester had a shot on goal. Kinski equal to it. On 32 minutes, Heung-min Son curling one into the top right corner, but the goalkeeper tipped it onto the bar. Ricky, what did you make of Heung-min Son's performance today? Because those 2 chances, 2 good saves from the goalkeeper, and like Craig said, it's like seeing the Sonny of old because, it's fair to say he's had a lot of criticism lately.
Yeah, I mean, it was bright. I felt after those first 10 minutes, I felt that we started to work our way into the game, and seeing Sonny kind of, have the shot that Craig was talking about, and then that curler, that was vintage Sonny. I think we all expected that to just nestle in the top corner. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, unfortunate. But I thought he started quite brightly. And I think that Richarlison really helped the brightness of that first half. He was not only holding the ball up, but he was playing balls into the channels for our wingers to run onto. And it was looking good for a moment. It really was.
Ricky, let's stay with you. Richarlison then, of course, put Spurs 1-0 up. What do you make of his goal?
Great goal, bruv. Great goal. Really good cross by Porro and a really good header. He picked up the position really nicely. And, you know, I was really happy for him, actually. Coming back from injuries, scoring against Everton last week, you know, in that defeat, but in starting the game with a goal, I felt that, again, with like Craig, that we was just going to kick on and kind of destroy him in the first half. But, you know, it didn't go to plan.
Harry, let's come to you on Richarlison's goal, because how important do you think Richarlison is going to be to this Tottenham Hotspur side with Dominic Solanke being out for at least 6 weeks? You know, he's got to stay fit, obviously, but most importantly as well, he's got to take his opportunity. Of course, he got the goal at Everton last week, got the goal today. How confident are you that Richarlison can continue this goal-scoring form?
I'm not confident, and I'm not confident at all, to be totally honest with you. And I love Richie, a big fan of his, and I love his positivity, his energy, his work rate, everything you want at a football club. One of those players you don't like when they're not on your team, but you love when they're yours. You know, we have a few of them. Romero's another one. So I absolutely love that. But in terms of staying fit, I have no confidence at all. And, you know, here I'm saying, oh, he's feeling his groin. And we need to look into it. It already doesn't look good. But the reality is we should probably go out and sign another striker to cover the basis, because we're 15th in the table. And if you, the way I look at it, and I know I keep coming back to it, I just can't get my head around it. It does link back, I think, to everything. When you're 15th in the table and you do nothing in a window, and other clubs around you are doing things, you're only going to fall, surely, if you think about that logistically. You're not going to climb if other clubs. I just don't get the thinking behind that. I love Richarlison, but I don't think he's going to stay fit. He's definitely going to get injured by the time Solanke, or before Solanke comes back. I think Richarlison could be real quality and a real nuisance for the opposition if he could stay fit. But I don't know if he could. That's the thing. I think he's just one of those players that is you know, injury ridden. It just, you know, has injuries written all over it. But if he stays fit, Chris, then I'll be a little bit more optimistic, because obviously he got his goal today, but he wasn't really in the game apart from that. That's the thing. We put balls in the box. He wasn't there at times. I don't think he's the finished article. I don't think he is the answer. And we shouldn't have to rely on him. We should be looking to this transfer window where there's strikers that Cunha, for example, Wolves, that will be looking for a move, but it needs to be met by a club that shows that ambition and goes, you know, he's a good offer, you know, he's a good wage, we're willing to pay this. But at the same time, we've got to start asking the questions now. Will players come to Tottenham? And it's questions that have been avoided, because we've got a lovely, shiny stadium. Yes, we are a big club with a, you know, good history. But I mean, right now we're 15th and we're just a, you know, disaster waiting to happen and a laughing stock. So, you know, is it an attractable place for players to come? Again, comes back to the owners and the board. That's on them. I just feel like the club is just slipping into a new low every time. So that part is really bad. But hopefully Richarlison can keep this going, Chris, because he's a player that lives off confidence. We have a lot of them. Brennan Johnson's another one. They feed off confidence, and that has pros and cons.
Craig, do you want to give your thoughts on the opening goal from Richarlison?
It was a good goal. Yeah. Just, I thought it was well worked. Lovely ball in, good header. But I'm in agreement. I'm not sure Richarlison did too much else. Just want to see more from him. I know he's coming back from injury. I've said all along, I don't think Richarlison's the answer, but he is a number 9, and he was getting in those positions that you want your centre forward to. So it was just good to see him score and get a bit of confidence, because that's what we need at the moment. So I still think we should be looking better than Richarlison. I like him as a player. I like him. I like his work ethic, and I like his commitment. But I still think we could do with another striker that can give us a bit more.
After 35 minutes, Leicester, after a good break, shot wide. 3 minutes later, Leicester with another shot outside the box, deflected over the bar. Just before half-time and 43 minutes, Tottenham had a good chance on the right wing with Pedro Porro. The ball went up to him. He did actually look up. He looked up inside the box. No one was there, so he shot from an acute angle, and it hit the side netting. Ricky, how frustrating is that? Because I feel like we've spoken about these moments a lot And I'm going to go back to the one at Newcastle. Brennan Johnson got a lot of flack from Spurs fans about putting a cross in, but there was no one there. And this is when Dominic Solanke and we didn't have all of these injuries then. I feel like that needs to be improved in that final third. And I know Ange Postecoglou, particularly last season, has gone into this season about how wasteful we have been in that final third. Pedro Porro was in a great position. All it needed is a player to be there, and they had a tap in.
Yeah, I think you made a great point there. Even when Ange first came in and we had those first 10 games and we were scoring goals and we was winning and we was moving forward, he was still saying we're not right up front. We still need more up front. The final third is there were problems there, and we create chances, but we wasn't putting them away. So I think you make a great point there. So he's been asking for more quality, better quality up front for a long time since he's turned up, and it's just come to a head. With Pedro, and I do, I've got a lot of love for Pedro, but he was very Jekyll and Hyde today. He put in a beautiful cross for Richarlison's goal. But then you get shots like, you get a shot like that where you've got no support. So he takes a shot, but then he had another one in the second half. I know you'll get onto it, bro, but there were times where it was wasteful, where there were plays in the box and he didn't do that. At the beginning of that second half, those two goals came from his side. So it was like him and Dragusin in for the first one, and they just kind of run over us. And the second one, he made a really poor decision in passing to, I think, Sarr under pressure, and they went on to score. But I think that was I think that there was a point in that first half where a Leicester player nicked it off of, I want to say it was Sarr, where he kind of dawdled on the ball for a little bit and he nicked it, and they had an opportunity, they had a break. And I think it was moments like that gave Leicester encouragement. It gave them a bit of confidence that if they do get at us, then they can get something from this game. And they only had to get at us for 5 minutes, bro. 5 minutes, and it was done and dusted. Then we went into panic station. So I've got a lot of love for Pedro. I think he's a great striker with the ball. I think he's a great crosser of the ball. Yes, he could do a lot better defensively, but I think he does give it away to the opposition. That's a problem that we've had all season, that there's so many times that there's a wayward pass from him that ends up being a counter attack on us, and it's just tough.
Harry, I'm going to come to you on this one because, of course, you were inside the stadium today at half time. We went in at 1-0. How are you feeling at that point?
I'm feeling happy that we've got into half time with a lead, but the thing was, I went into the game and I said that if we go one goal and Leicester should crumble, and they didn't, and that I suppose is credit to them, but also that's on us for not building on that 1-0 advantage. I think that at half time maybe come at a little bit of a bad time for us, having said that Leicester were creating chances at the end of the half, but I don't know why we come out of the second half like that. And I don't buy anything to do with mentality. I don't buy anything to do with fatigue. That is on the manager, because you come out of a team talk where there's an opportunity for the manager to speak to the players, also on the players as well. Let's be crystal clear with that. We come out of it significantly worse. Yes, Leicester were better, but our touch and our passing, that first 5-10 minutes after the second half in particular, was woeful, a massive drop-off from the first half when it wasn't great anyway. I don't get that. I don't get what goes on at half-time. Does Angela say anything to the players? Do they not listen? That's where we really need to understand whether they're behind him or not, because they're clearly not taking on the feedback, if any, that's being given. So that is, for me, what's really concerning. And we've done that several times. Okay, you're going to drop leads and drop points in winning positions like we've had with players out. It's the fact that we crumbled in 2 minutes of the second half. We went from 1-0 up to 2-1 down against Leicester, a team that don't score. Yep. And yes, they get a bit of encouragement. Van Nistelrooy's team talk would have been superb. We would have tweaked a few things. Absolutely. They look better, but we just look absolutely gobsmacked and clueless in that second half. So I was feeling confident that we'd get the job done. I knew we'd make hard work of it, Chris, to be totally honest with you. I knew that we'd probably concede. I think a Vardy goal was written in the stars. Loves a goal against Tottenham, but I thought that we'd be able to get the job done. But we just made that so unnecessarily difficult at the start of the half. But I don't buy into what Ange said either, though, about we had a mountain to climb. We're talking about an awful team at home. Being 1 goal behind isn't a mountain to climb. You just got to score a goal against an awful defence. We certainly made it harder for ourselves, though. There's no eluding that. But I was fairly confident at half-time. You could never be fully confident, though, as a Spurs fan at the moment.
Harry, did you see the equaliser in the stadium? Because I asked that question because a lot of people didn't, because it happened so quickly. A lot of people still in the concourses having drinks and having bits and pieces to eat. What did you make of the goal?
Yeah, luckily I didn't go anywhere for half time. Usually I did. So that was I say luckily. I should have, shouldn't I? Really, let's be totally honest with you. But maybe lucky to be able to talk about it. But it was the other end to me. It all happened so quick as well in terms of the goal itself. So I haven't watched it back, but it's just simple. Ball in the box, decoupled over Reed, allowed too much space to deliver that cross, and all I saw was Kinski go down and the ball end up with Jamie Vardy's feet and just smashed into the goal. So I can only imagine there's a deflection in there somewhere. 2 players have come together, including the goalkeeper. But either way, it's a total mess, total confusion, and just sums up the club and the situation at the moment. Just a total shambles and complete unorganised. And that back line has actually done all right, considering it's a makeshift back line. But they're let down for me again in this game by the lack of protection from the midfield, which is an issue, a whole issue in itself. But yeah, it just happened so quickly. And it is credit Leicester, but we made it easy for them. There was a point in the second half, they're 2-1 up, they were strolling with the ball, hands on hips, looking around. We let them dictate, we let them dominate. It felt like an away game against the Man City today, and it's really concerning. Whatever players are playing, it's the senior players that I'm concerned with. And a lot of people have said in the chat about the money that Ange's had to spend. But the recruitment has been woeful at times as well. Let's be clear. The money has been spent, yes, but not compared to the other clubs. It all sounds a lot individual figures, but when you compare it and look at the players we've signed, I keep saying it, but look at that forward line. It's not a top 6 forward line. That's the reality. I love Solanke. I think he's great. I love Johnson. I think he's a great impact player. I love Sonny. But we've got to start asking this question. How many of these players will get into other top 6 teams? And that'd be a lot quicker than saying what players wouldn't. That's the reality and the situation we're in. But I did see the goal, Chris, and it's just alarming how easy we were opened up. As for the second goal, that's even more alarming. The space that was given, it's just incoherent. It's just inexcusable. Whatever, we've got players out. We need players on the pitch, however much you play, to do their jobs, and they're not at the moment.
Craig, Harry mentions there the word alarming about how we conceded this second goal. What did you make of this one?
I think it's just shocking. Players ball watching. Look at the space. Look at the space in the middle there. The player receiving the ball, the eventual scorer of the goal. It's all over the place. No, Sarr was trying to get back to him. Didn't look like he was putting in as much, or perhaps he was putting as much effort as his legs would allow. But Ben Davies didn't get out to him quick enough. It was just an absolute mess. It was a great finish, to be honest with you. You could say Kinski should have done better, but it was right in the corner. It was just a great strike, but it should have even got to that point. Should have been stopped in the midfield. Defence should have stepped up a bit and got out to him. Just not good enough. And to be honest, at that point, I wasn't that worried. I thought we will get back into it. Then it was clear after 5 or 10 minutes there was no way we was going to get back into this game. I just couldn't see it. So bad the start of that second half. So bad. Honestly, I don't know how you go from. Yeah. That's all I can say. It was fucking awful.
It could have been worse because after 54 minutes, 4 minutes after they scored their second, a ball came over. Jamie Vardy on the volley, and Radu Dragushin then blocked. So it could have been a lot worse, Ricky, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could have been.
And I'll tell you what, that conversation that you and I had the other day about, the banter going on with certain players, the Spurs fans with Jamie Vardy again, and of course, who scores, their first goal. It's just, you couldn't write it.
Mate, I had a text. Of course I did. And I'm going to ask him to stop texting me on bloody well match days. I had a text from Anthony Costa. What's going on?
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And he goes to me, what? She goes, Winks is going to fly the ball over and Vardy's going to score. Now, luckily, Winks didn't put the cross in, but bloody hell, Vardy scored. And I'm just like, here we go. Here we go, bruv. It just punches me in the gut. I don't know what to say, bruv. I really don't.
I've got to say, it's probably the shortest answers from Ricky Norwood on a podcast in the Spurs chat podcast history, actually. So I think that says a lot. Let's get through this quite quickly. Now, the Leicester fans, after they went 2-1 up, they were actually singing inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it was pretty quiet from the Spurs fans at this point. They were singing, "How shit must you be if we're winning away?" Which, how many times have I said on this podcast? 7 defeats on the spin, going into this game. On 54 minutes, Ricky, we'll stay with you. On 54 minutes, Richarlison and Sarr went off. We've heard from Ange Postecoglou why they went off. Mikey Moore and Reguilon came on. How confident are you with Richarlison going forward? Because he's got to step up, hasn't he, during this time, that Solanke's not going to be here.
Yeah, but I'm a bit with Harry. Craig said it many a time before. How injury prone and how his muscles are made of biscuits. And that's the biggest worry. When he has come on, since he's come back from injury, there have been some moments where I've looked and I've been like, oh, that's nice. And there's been moments where I didn't expect, but it's going to be tough now because you're asking an injury-prone player to go in and play every 3 days again, and he can only last 55 minutes, if that. So what can you do? And again, another failing from the board who knew this going into December, who knew this Richarlison didn't even have pre-season. He was injured from last year. So it took him a couple of games to even get a couple of games at the beginning of this season. And then he has a couple and then he's out for I don't know how long, comes back, makes a great assist, innocuous left-footed pass. And he's then out again another 4-6 weeks or whatever it's been. So that's what's worrying with when it comes down to Richarlison. But the moments, there's been a couple of moments that I've seen that have been encouraging. But it's like what I said about being starving right now. I'm a guy that's allergic to fish, right? But if you're malnutrition and you're starving and somebody goes, "Here's a battered cod," do you know what I mean? I'm going to be like, "Oh, okay, thank you. That's the best fish I've ever had." Do you know what I mean? And that's how it feels with Richarlison right now. Like, we haven't got anything else. So that little piece of quality, that little piece of something that you're going to go in, "Oh my gosh, yes, please. Oh, okay, come on. But I agree with you in the sense that, he's got an opportunity to be the man. He's got an opportunity to be the savior. He's got an opportunity to be the hero in this disaster movie. And it's up to him, just fingers crossed he can stay as fit as he can and build on these performances and be that guy. But we shouldn't be relying on him because we know he's unreliable. His muscles are unreliable, So, and that's a player as well that technically can play across the front three, left side, centre forward, and right side. So, if he was there during the season, we could have had rotation with Johnson, with Sonny, with Solanke. But now he's coming in and everything's on him. So there ain't no rotation there. He can't come on and be an impact, or we've got to rely on him up until 55 minutes. And hopefully we win the game by 55 minutes, but that's unlikely. So we are in the worst rock and a hard place situation that we've ever been in, I think.
I'm going to get through the rest of the second half quite quickly because you talking about food, Ricky. Craig's got his dinner coming, Harry's got his dinner coming, and I've got to get home. So we're going to get through this quite quickly. On 58 minutes, Kulusevski had his shot saved. On 62 minutes, long-range free kick from Pedro Porro deflected onto the crossbar, unlucky not to score. On 66 minutes, Pedro Porro again hit the side netting. This time, the Spurs fans were not happy with the decision he took because there were players in the middle at that point, which was very, very frustrating. Right in front of the South stand, I might add. On 72 minutes, across from the right-hand side from Spurs, Radu Dragushin header over the bar. Late on in the game, Will Lancashire came on in the 94th minute. Archie Gray going off. And then, of course, boos at the end. A lot of boos at the end. And even though they put the music up, the music then stopped and the fans were still there, booing, still chanting about Daniel Levy, etc. Let's wrap this up. Ricky, what do you expect from this next week? Do you think Ange will be in charge on Thursday for the Elfsborg game? How do you see that one going? Because Spurs will be going into the next round. Do you expect to win? How do you expect this week to go against Brentford away in the Premier League? And I just hope that Ange Postecoglou, when he has his press conference on Wednesday ahead of Thursday's game, that he doesn't come out and give us all the news that more players are out injured, because I'm not sure how much more he can take or we can take if he's still there.
Mate, every single press conference that he's had, there's been another 2 out. If there's been another 2, every single press conference that he's had for the last 8 weeks, there's been another 2 out. So what do I expect? What would I hope? I would hope that the sound of those boos and this energy that every single Spurs fan has got, and the eyes that have been firmly planted on the full board. Yeah, I know Levy's the front man of it, but I'm holding the board to account, and I think that every fan out there is doing that right now, irregardless. So there has to be something. There has to be something within the next 24 hours. There has to be some type of change when it comes down to incomings. Like, you want to talk about being a big club, you got to act like them as well. You've got to, you can't walk into Harrods wearing clothes from the charity shop. You've got to go in there with your wallet full and ready to buy a small handbag for an exorbitant amount of money, because that's what you need right now, and this is what these boys have got to do. This is what this board have got to do. They've got to give him something. It's ridiculous how we've got to this point, and everybody's asking the same question. The reason that I've stayed consistent with my argument the majority of the weeks is because nothing has changed. These guys have not put their hand in their pocket. They haven't attempted to change anything. They haven't given any help when asked for it. If you're dangling off of a cliff and you're asking the guy that's standing up there for help, please give me a hand, help. And he's like, nah, mate, you know what? Actually, my left hand's a bit sore. Actually, I can't really pull you up. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So there has to be major changes. You've got to do something to lift everybody in this scenario. And if you're going to back this manager up until this point, then please give him something that he can work with, so that we can not only give some of those boys a rest and a rotation, but we can give the whole squad a sense of we're being heard, we're being seen, and we're not being left to rot. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have people that own this club and that are in charge of certain decisions, and it seems like they're looking all the other way. So you need to bring something in to even galvanize that squad to go, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay, cool. Well, when we've needed it, they've brought it in, and it might be late, but at least we've got some quality in, at least we can move forward. So it's for those players too. It's for those players, those senior players that want to be at the top half of the league and want to be challenging for every trophy going. If you want to keep those players, you need to encourage those players and let them know that we're going to deal with problems when problems arise. Now, that goes against everything in Tottenham's history, because it's hardly ever happened, has it? But this is the time. This is the time. And what do I see for Elfsborg and what do I see for Brentford? I'm a disillusioned fan when it comes down to making predictions. And I have never and will never, and you can call me happy clapper for it if you want. I don't mind. I'll be happy clapping in my corner. But I will never and can never predict my team to lose a game. I won't do it, even in the direst of situations. So I'm not going to do it here. So I will say we go through with a positive result against Elfsborg, and fingers crossed, at the minimum, a draw against Brentford.
Harry?
Yeah, I'm with Ricky in terms of, you've got to try and look positively despite our form, and it's never nice to predict your team not to do well. Elfsberg, I back us to win. I think that should be. I mean, you should say that about today, wouldn't you? A straightforward game to win. I can't say that with Spurs. I mean, everything on paper had a Spurs win today, whether it be Leicester stats, Spurs stats, head-to-head stats, league table, whatever it would be, and it just totally didn't happen that way, did it? Dr. Tottenham, so you just don't know. For me, I think we beat Elfsberg, I reckon, quite comfortably at, say, 3-1. But I'm worried about Brentford. I think that they are the ones with an upward trajectory and doing very well under Thomas Frank. Look at players like Burmo that really carry this Brentford side. Wissa in good form, and they're just a really good and strong outfit. So I think we have a real problem. I think we could even, lose that. I think that's a possibility, but I do think we'll win this Elfsberg game. But what I will remind some fans, I'm not saying calling them out, but there's a lot of us said that, the priority this season was to end the trophy drought. We are still in all three competitions. Well, we were in all competitions, obviously win the league. So I count it as in the three of the competitions, in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup and Europa League. I mean, I wouldn't mind this situation in the league if we win one of those trophies. I don't know what you guys think. So, I think it's very easy to throw our toys at the pram, but we could still win a trophy after all. So for me, and probably has a right to be in charge for that second leg against Liverpool. And I think he will be. Just.
I do agree with you, Harry. There's a lot to play for. However, I don't believe that this podcast is probably the one to go down and say we might win trophies. So we'll park that there. We'll park that there, and we'll revisit it at some point when people are a little bit happier. Craig's dying to get to his dinner. Craig, we'll finally get your thoughts, and we've just got a couple of comments that we've got to read out and react to. So I promise we're a couple of minutes away. Craig, this next week, what are you expecting?
Just very quickly, just going back to the game, and I don't want to talk about it. Reguilon and Mikey Moore put two lovely low balls across the box where the centre forward should have been, and we had nobody to put it in the net. So there were opportunities, but players weren't in the right positions. How do I see it going? I think we'll beat Elfsborg. I do. I don't think they're a particularly good side from what I can see, and if we can't beat them, we might as well give up and turn the ground into a block of flats, because we should be beating Elfsborg. As for Brentford, I think we're going to lose to Brentford. I can't see us winning. I just can't. It will be something like 2-1 or 3-1. Sorry to say, but I've just got to be honest. That's the way I see it at the moment. I'm not positive at all. Sorry.
Do you know, Craig, on Thursday, although we won the game, Ricky and I really enjoyed our night off from the podcast. And the feedback I've had since Thursday about how great you were as a host, do you fancy doing the rest of the season?
I think he's serious, actually.
I'm serious.
I know he's serious.
Yeah.
Really.
And me and Ricky will be at the bar every game.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you two look after yourselves and go down the pub. I'll suffer it. Yeah.
You suffer it. Harry will be by your side. He loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Let's just get through a few of these comments, and there are quite a lot. Oh wow. We've already mentioned this one from Roy, common denominator, the board. We've already spoken about that. Levy and Enoch sell the club, says all can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we've actually gone through a lot of these comments already. I know a lot of people are very, very frustrated. As I've said, Craig and I will be doing a fan show on Tuesday. Everyone is welcome to come on. If you want to come on and you want to vent, or you want to ask questions, or you want us to just put the questions to you, please do get in touch with me. I've had quite a few emails already during this stream that I've just checked. So, Craig, I don't know how long we're going to be there for. It's going to be a lot longer than the 2 hours 15 that we've been on this podcast. But Harry, enjoy your meal this evening. Enjoy your meal, Craig. Ricky, enjoy whatever you're doing. A brandy or two, and I don't blame you. Ricky, where can people find you on social media? And I was hoping to have a joke or two this evening and talk about your new film, The Baggage Handler, but it doesn't seem appropriate.
No, you guys know where to find me, man. On X, you'll find me at Ricky J Norwood. On Insta, you'll find me at official Ricky Norwood. And I'll probably be here with all of you guys suffering the next result or the next game. Do you know what I mean? I do have to say to all the Tottenham fans out there, I love you all. and I love my club, and I know that we, see things differently right now, but I think we all agree on one thing, on where the blame should be laid, and where the focus should be right now. And I know it's very difficult, but I would say let's stick together as much as we can, and let's stay on the things that we agree on, because I think those are the most important right now. Listen, guys, always an honor and a pleasure. Win, lose, or draw. I know it was tough for me today. I know it was tough for everybody watching, but always an honor and a pleasure. I thank you all, and I pray and wish and hope for better days to come. And come on, you Spurs.
Thank you, Ricky. And Harry, thank you so much. Tell everyone about your channel, what they can expect from your channel, what you're up to at the moment, and where people can find you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. I always love coming on here. Pleasure to share the stage as well, once again, with Craig and Ricky. So thank you very much, even despite the circumstances with the result. You can find me at Harry Scarfe 22 across all socials. I'm a football content creator and YouTuber, and I do have my own YouTube channel and podcast, actually. Scarfe Spurs Talk. We'll be reviewing this game tomorrow night, so Monday, 7:45 p.m. Goodness me, I've got to go for it again. But no, it's tough with Spurs at the moment. It feels like therapy session after therapy session. Craig can relate to hosting the last show. Chris, of course, you can relate to as well. Ricky as well. Plenty of podcasts. That's what it's like with Spurs at the moment. But as Ricky said, we all love our club. So yeah, we've got to unite in these tough times, and try and get through it, navigate through it, whatever that may be, or whatever change, if any, we will see. We'll get through it. I always believe that there'll be brighter days ahead. But yeah, that's where you can find me, of course, as well, regular on here, which I'm honoured to say. So, Chris, as always, keep up the great work. Despite obviously Spurs, they don't make it easy, do they? But it's keep up the good work for all the content.
Thank you, Harry. And that goes straight back to you. Keep up your great work, and as I always say, you're the future of these channels. So keep up the great work, and we'll have you on soon. We look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Craig, thank you so much for all of your input, and that offer is genuine. If you want to carry on until the end of the season, you're more than welcome.
No, that's okay. I'm quite. If I've got to do it, you've got to be here with me, Chris.
I'll help.
At Dearman on X, if you want to give me a follow, that'd be great. And please do, like Chris said, the fan channel, get in touch. Come on here and tell us what you think, especially the people that have been giving us abuse in the comments. Put a face to the name. We do this in our own time. We don't get paid for it. So come on here. If you want to abuse us, come on here and do it face to face. Most of the comments, thankfully, are nice. But if you want to abuse us, come on here and abuse us on here. But keep it clean. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
I go against what Craig says. If you want to abuse people, go somewhere else. Don't come on it. Don't come on it. Don't email me. Do not get in touch. And if you do email me, I'll forward it to Craig's email address, and he can do it.
Yeah, and you'll get a nice reply back. So don't worry about
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all the love that we do have on this podcast, and thank you for the 5,500 people that have watched this podcast continuously. Wow. And just checking the figures, 20,000 people have watched this podcast today, which is unbelievable.
That's a record.
So, thanks for all of your support. Thanks for all of the comments. We will be back on Tuesday night for the fan show. A big thank you to Craig, Ricky, and Harry. Never easy talking about a win, particularly after today's defeat. But we'll see you soon. Come on, Spurs.
Come on.